Part 6. Evolution begins with Resident Evil. Author, Wei Tongmiao. Chapter 52. Chapter 52 Fierce Fighting 200 meters. 2 days later, Tanya led the group and Sergeant Tan to meet at the Snyder Freight Warehouse. Is that the injured person? He looks in good spirits. Sergeant Tan noticed Ed slowly getting off the jeep. Although his face was still a little pale, he seemed to be in good spirits. He opened his eyes wide and observed the surrounding environment. Yes. It all depends on Dr. Hans, Tanya said. Also, we have prepared a batch of medicine and put it in the back of the jeep. You can find someone to take it? Okay. Sergeant Tan nodded and waved for the soldiers behind him to help. Dr. Hans took people to get this batch of medicines from the tightly secured medicine warehouse in his clinic. In the past 2 days, both sides have been in contact via radio and are actively preparing for war. It is worth mentioning that Luo Guang took advantage of this period of time to sneak out, clean up the red mist-emitting house across the street, and remove the throat of one of the red-eyed blood plague zombies. A special piece of hyperplastic tissue was extracted. But, Tan, your manpower is actually smaller than ours. When Tanya met Sergeant Tan for the first time, Sergeant Tan had at least 16 people under his command, but now at a glance, there are only 5 people including Sergeant Tan. Originally we planned to recruit survivors based on the military's prestige, but in the end you were the only ones who came to us, and you only came to discuss cooperation. Sergeant Tan shrugged and said helplessly. That was because someone said on the radio that the military was not trustworthy and that people were arrested for experiments. Luo Guang thought so, but did not speak out about it. In addition, the two parties are indeed in a cooperative relationship at this time, and have decided to use the Snyder Freight Warehouse as the base of operations. At the same time, the division of labor issues between the two parties will be handled through a rotation mechanism. However, this is what happened after the failure of the wall-breaking plan. According to Sergeant Tan's analysis, if everything goes well, they will find a better alternative base in the North District. There is also a large shopping mall there. If Sergeant Tan doesn't mind, everyone will still. You can have a grand $0 shopping there. Our side is Luo Guang and I, Tanya said. Are you only going to send out 2 people? Adjutant Jamie felt that Tanya should send out a few more people since there were so many people. Dr. Hans, radio operator Lily, they don't have much combat effectiveness. Plus the injured Ed, we actually only have 4 combatants that can be used. We have already sent half of them. Tanya and Luo Guang has fought together several times, and Luo Guang has also done a good job of defeating a Swiftman by himself, so he still has a lot of trust in Luo Guang's fighting ability. Marcus and Maya, I also want to bring them on board, but we need manpower for defense here, and they are lovers. I'm worried that when one of them is in danger, the other one will do something to disrupt the plan. Tanya said directly. Tell Lieutenant Jamie the reason for your casting choice. Adjutant, Tanya is not a selfish person. She only brought one person to cooperate with us after careful consideration. Sergeant Tan said this to his adjutant after hearing Tanya's explanation, and also to help him clarify his doubts. Adjutant, one step. I understand, I'm sorry. Adjutant Jamie apologized directly. It's okay. It's better to explain it clearly than anything else. Tanya thought it was okay. If the other party didn't have any doubts, Tanya was worried that there was something wrong with it. On our side, I, Corporal Michael Coton, and Private Thoreau Smith are in charge of this mission, and the adjutant will lead the rest of the people to cooperate with you to protect this place. Sergeant Tan introduced the people behind him. Corporal Michael is an expert demolitionist who carries a larger backpack than other soldiers. The weapons used by the 3 soldiers were the same M16 assault rifles as Tanya, but the specific models seemed to be different. Luo Guang looked at the weapons of the 4 people, and then looked at the M4S90 semi-automatic shotgun in his hand, and felt that his own weapon was more suitable for fighting blood plague zombies. The 5 members of the action team came to the town map to confirm the action route. The iron wall that Luo Guang chose to break this time was not the one that Luo Guang saw at first, but the one on another bridge. Because the one over there is relatively close, start from the Snyder Freight Warehouse, pass the gas station, cross the bridge, and then walk all the way north to reach the mission goal. The 5 of them were ready for battle, and Sergeant Tan generously replenished the weapons of Tanya, who was no longer a soldier, and Luo Guang, a civilian, with enough ammunition. Luo Guang was naturally not polite, because he had high strength and endurance, so Luo Guang brought hundreds of rounds of number 12 shotguns and stuffed his pockets full. After preparations were completed, Luo Guang and the other 5 drove to the mission target. We have investigated the situation there before. Someone used containers to release zombies, so there are a lot of zombies there, and there are a lot of abandoned cars blocking the road, so there is a distance of about 200 meters that we need to walk on. The driver was Private Solo, and Sergeant Tan, who was sitting in the co-pilot, was explaining the mission. Because Tanya told Sergeant Tan about the containers Marcus found, Sergeant Tan also paid special attention during the investigation, and Sergeant Tan actually discovered these suspicious containers. Of this distance of about 200 meters, about 124 meters are roads and the remaining 78 meters are bridges. Considering that Luo Guang is a civilian, Sergeant Tan explained to Luo Guang, "Luo, you are a civilian, so I don't ask you to do well, but you must obey orders." I understand. Luo Guang did not mention his cooperation with Jill, a former Delta Force reserve, and simply answered. This chapter is not over yet, please click on the next page to continue reading. Very good, Sergeant Tan explained. Private Solo and Tanya will form a triangle formation to form the arrowhead of the assault. Luo Guang, you will go last and be responsible for protecting our rear. At the same time, I need you to take the lead and quickly suppress and shoot fast zombies such as the Swifts when necessary, and Corporal Michael will be in the middle of our team and will also need to join the battle when necessary. I understand, everyone replied. Michael, please pay more attention to Luo Guang's situation, Sergeant Tan added. I understand. Michael nodded, patted Luo Guang's shoulder beside him, and said, then I will protect you. Thank you. Luo Guang naturally wanted someone to protect him. He did not think he was invincible, so he did not express any opinions on this mission. He was a good boy that Sergeant Tan was happy to see. There are quite a few containers. Luo Guang, who was sitting in the middle, looked at the situation in the distance and said, it seems that someone doesn't want us to leave. No time to express your feelings, Rookie, Sergeant Tan said, stop there. Rookie is the temporary code name Luo Guang got. Sergeant Tan's code name is Big Brother, Corporal Michael is Bomb, and Private Solo is Rabbit. Tanya thinks her name is good, so she doesn't have a code name. Break, everyone gets off the car quickly forms a team, and starts to head towards the iron wall under the leadership of Sergeant Tan. Because of the sound of the Jeep engine, the Blood Plague zombies have noticed the arrival of Luo Guang and his party, but it is daytime now. The crowd originally did not plan to sneak over, and the ammunition they brought was enough for a big battle. The 3 people led by Sergeant Tan started to fire rhythmically with M16 assault rifles, and the 5 people began to move forward. The situation was good at the beginning, because there were not many zombies following behind, but as the 5-man team inserted into the zombie group like a sharp knife, Luo Guang began to feel busy. At this time, Luo Guang's goal was only to delay the zombies and protect Corporal Michael, so Luo Guang did not fire all the bullets at once. While controlling the shooting speed, Luo Guang occasionally pulled the lower holster back after shooting a shotgun shell, and directly inserted a new number 12 shotgun shell from the ejection port after ejecting the shell. When he was free, Luo Guang would naturally choose to fill the barrel directly to ensure the firepower of the shotgun. Rookie, you shot well. Corporal Michael stared at Luo Guang according to Sergeant Tan's instructions. Seeing that Luo Guang was not panicked when being gradually approached by a large number of zombies, every shot hit the Blood Plague zombie, and the action of reloading the bullet was also very stable and smooth. "Thank you." Luo Guang thanked him, and shot at the two zombies that entered the range, killing them with one shot. Sergeant Tan heard the praise from Corporal Michael behind him, and naturally understood that the situation behind was good, so he focused more on facing the situation in front. "Screamer." Tanya saw a screamer and was about to shoot it, but the screamer suddenly bent down and luckily dodged Tanya's bullet. However, this was not a lucky thing for the five-man team. Although Tanya had shot the screamer with the fastest speed, the screamer still made a short scream. However, at this time, the gunshots were already everywhere, so the problem was not big. The five people still had to face the blood plague zombies coming from all directions, but after hearing the screamers scream, the blood plague zombies moved faster. As the number of shots increased, Private Solo, who had not had enough rest, felt sore in his shoulders and had problems with his accuracy. The decline in his hit rate made the zombies get closer and closer to him. A Swift jumped onto the roof of the car and roared. Corporal Michael immediately raised his gun and shot the Swift. Compared with the Swifts acting alone, these Swifts acting in teams always roared for some reason, like the horn before the charge. The screams of the screamers who were hiding somewhere also rang out again, and the roars of the blood plague zombies were also lingering in their ears. The five people had only advanced about 50 meters at this time, and the psychological pressure was not small. "Speed up, and use grenades to clear the way if necessary." Sergeant Tan adjusted his strategy. Everyone nodded, but except for Private Solo, no one else took out the grenade. After Private Solo shouted "Be careful with the grenade," he threw the grenade with the safety pin pulled out, and then immediately found a car for cover. When the others heard the warning of being careful with the grenade, they also stopped and looked for cover on the spot. Luo Guang found a car with broken windows and used it as a cover. He squatted slightly, and continued to shoot at the zombies behind him with a gun at the window. With a bang, the grenade exploded, but there were too many cars on the bridge. A large number of abandoned cars blocked a lot of fragments for the blood plague zombies, so Private Solo's grenade did not achieve much results. However, the shock wave generated by the grenade explosion successfully slowed down the pace of the blood plague zombies. Sergeant Tan also noticed the situation, but he had no good solution at this time, so he could only bite the bullet and lead everyone to continue moving forward. The roar of the Swift sounded again, and Sergeant Tan was not paying attention because the car blocked his view, and he blew up a swollen zombie in front of the road. A black smoke instantly covered the road ahead. "Damn it," Tanya cursed when she saw the road ahead was blocked. At this time, there was still 70 meters away from the iron wall. The road ahead was temporarily blocked, and everyone had to fight a short positional battle, but everyone had already got on the bridge, so after clearing the blood plague zombies on both sides, everyone only needed to focus on defense in the front and back. This chapter is not over yet, please click on the next page to continue reading. Corporal Michael also turned around and came to Luo Guang, set up his M16 assault rifle to help Luo Guang block the enemies behind. Sergeant Tan and Tanya were in charge of the front, but Private Solo asked Sergeant Tan to arrange a rest. Sergeant Tan actually wanted to bring his adjutant instead of Private Solo to perform the mission, but he also needed a trustworthy person to sit in the base, so Sergeant Tan could only pick the taller of the two dwarfs and choose Private Solo, who had relatively good shooting and physical fitness scores. The Swift appeared in sight, but because the poisonous fog blocked his sight, when the Swift rushed out of the poisonous fog, he was not far away from Sergeant Tan and others. The M16 assault rifle in Tanya's hand only has single-shot and three-shot shooting modes, while the ones in other people's hands have full automatic mode. The M16 assault rifle in Sergeant Tan's hand uses full automatic mode. Previously, he relied on his precise control of the trigger to achieve the effect of single-shot bursts. Seeing that the Swift was so close, he directly pulled the trigger and fired a burst of bullets at the Swift. No matter how fast and dodgeable the Swift was, it was difficult to avoid the dense bullets. One of the three that rushed out was knocked down in an instant, and the other was also knocked down by Tanya. The remaining one was shot in the left arm and shot directly through the arm, but it finally passed through the shooting net of Sergeant Tan and Tanya. At this time, the assault rifles in the hands of Sergeant Tan and Tanya were all out of bullets. The Swift jumped towards the car that Sergeant Tan and Tanya used as a cover. Sergeant Tan and Tanya bent down and lowered their heads to avoid the claws of the Swift. The Swift didn't want to lose its speed advantage. Its target was Private Solo, who was temporarily protected by everyone in the middle. After missing the first shot, the Swift didn't stop and rushed directly to Private Solo's position. There was a gunshot behind him. It was Sergeant Tan who pulled out his pistol and fired. But the people in front and behind the formation were likely to accidentally injure friendly forces, so Sergeant Tan and Tanya had to stop shooting after firing a few shots. Although Private Solo was relaxing his shoulders and didn't have to participate in the battle for the time being, he was not really doing nothing and resting. In fact, he replaced the reserve and guard role of Corporal Michael. But because Sergeant Tan and Tanya were in front of him, he didn't raise his gun to shoot, but just aimed and waited for the opportunity. When Sergeant Tan and Tanya bent down to avoid the attack, it was his chance to shoot. However, after the Swift judged that the distance was enough, he directly exerted force on his hind legs, and the roof of the car was directly stepped out by the Swift, and he jumped high and pounced on Private Solo. Solo was caught off guard. It was the first time for him to see the Swift jump and attack after surviving the zombie siege that day. The Swift knew that he would lose the ability to change direction after jumping, so he jumped with the determination to kill. Private Solo was horrified, pulled the trigger, raised his assault rifle upwards, and wanted to shoot the Swift. Unfortunately, the Swift won the bet this time. Asterisk. Thank you all for your monthly tickets and other support. Evolution begins with Resident Evil. Author, Wei Tongmiao. Chapter 53. Chapter 53 The Giant Overlord. Private Solo was directly thrown to the ground by the Swift, and the M16 assault rifle in his hand became the only barrier between him and the Swift. Although Private Solo had undergone relatively scientific military training, the army was not a place to train strong men. No matter how Solo pushed or hit, he could not push the Swift away. The Swift did not make any extra moves. After throwing Private Solo to the ground, he used both hands to attack the enemy under him frantically. Sergeant Tan felt bad when he saw Solo being thrown to the ground, but there were two cars between the two. Sergeant Tan was worried that he would hit Private Solo if he jumped on the car and attacked from a high position, so he chose to go around. Private Solo did not last long under the attack of the Swift. The M16 assault rifle protecting his body was knocked away by the Swift's claw, and then his neck was wiped by the Swift. Blood was gushing out, Private Solo opened his eyes wide, and a gurgling sound came out of his throat. Sergeant Tan raised his M16 assault rifle with the bullets replaced and fired. With 3 shots, he solved the Swift who was about to feast. The Swift fell down and pressed on Private Solo again. Sergeant Tan rushed over to push the Swift away. Just as he was about to take out the tourniquet, he saw that Private Solo's eyes were blurry and his breath was coming in and out. Sergeant Tan couldn't bear Private Solo to continue suffering. He gritted his teeth, reached for the tourniquet and touched the M1911 pistol next door, giving Solo a quick death. So everyone noticed what Sergeant Tan did, but no one cried or made a fuss. They just worked harder to eliminate the enemy in front of them. The poisonous fog was about to dissipate. Sergeant Tan, who suppressed his anger on his face, held the weapon in his hand tightly and returned to Tanya's side, commanding everyone to regroup and continue to move towards the iron wall. The containers dropped were basically on both sides of the road, so at this time, there would be fewer and fewer blood plague zombies on the bridge, and the speed of advancement would be faster. After the 4 of them advanced a distance, there were not many zombies between them and the iron wall. Sergeant Tan asked Tanya and Corporal Michael to change positions, and then Sergeant Tan led Corporal Michael to advance quickly to the iron wall, while Tanya and Luo Guang were responsible for setting up a defense line to block the blood plague zombies. Seeing this, Tanya pulled Luo Guang, who was in high spirits, and turned around and ran directly to the iron wall. They were nearly 20 meters away from the iron wall at this time, and the defense line only needed to be set up about 5 meters away from the iron wall. The continuous and uninterrupted shooting made the shotgun a little hot. Luo Guang temporarily hung the shotgun back to the side of the backpack and took out his beautiful Beretta M92F pistol. Luo Guang had just found a new position to set up the gun when he heard Sergeant Tan not far away asking Corporal Michael, "What's the situation?" "I have enough explosives, so I should be able to blow it up." Corporal Michael knocked on the iron wall and said after listening to the sound coming back. "It shouldn't collapse directly, right?" Sergeant Tan asked, worried about this. "No, I'm doing directional blasting," Corporal Michael explained, "then there will only be a big hole. Of course, if it really collapses, it's because of the structure of the iron wall, not me." Corporal Michael paused, and under the gaze of Sergeant Tan, added, "So the range of directional blasting is not large, but I suggest you stay away from it." "Well, we've been fighting for so long, and no one has appeared on this iron wall. I think the camp behind this iron wall is either empty or occupied by zombies," Sergeant Tan said. "When directional blasting, is there a way to complete the damage to the possible enemies behind the iron wall?" "Sure, leave it to me," Corporal Michael said confidently. Sergeant Tan nodded and directed Luo Guang and others to advance the direction of the defense line. Timed for 3 minutes, Corporal Michael suddenly shouted, and began to come to Luo Guang's side, saying as he ran, "Advance a little further." Everyone obeyed the order, opened fire, and pushed forward about 5 meters. "Countdown 3, 2, 1." Corporal Michael kept staring at his watch and started counting down. Before Corporal Michael said 0, there was an explosion behind him. Luo Guang looked at the iron wall and saw a big hole in it. "Go in," Sergeant Tan ordered immediately. Everyone obeyed the order and did not continue to shoot to stop the blood plague zombies walking from the road to the bridge. Instead, they ran directly through the hole in the iron wall. After passing through the hole, what was waiting in front of Luo Guang and the other 4 was a pile of blood plague zombies that were blown up. Behind the iron wall was a small camp, in which there were many blood plague zombies in military uniforms. Sergeant Tan frowned and said, "Did we lose contact because of the zombie attack?" "I don't know, but I know we are in big trouble now." Tanya stared at a huge zombie in the middle of the camp. Before joining the church survivor team, Tanya and her friend who was also a veteran formed a survivor team, but the team was destroyed by the huge zombie in front of them. The teammates were all wiped out, and Tanya joined the church team. The zombie was an extremely huge zombie, over 6 feet tall and very fat, with thick and powerful arms on its huge and round body, gray skin with a disproportionately small head, and clothes on its body that had been broken by its swollen body, and its glowing red eyes that were very obvious even in the daytime showed that it was extraordinary. Giant Overlord. Luo Guang's expression became solemn. He was not worried about not being able to defeat the Giant Overlord, but about one of the Giant Overlord's abilities. This chapter is not over yet. Please click on the next page to continue reading the exciting content. It is the master of this area. A deep and loud roar came from the mouth of the giant master. Unlike the screamer who mainly attracts other zombies, Luo Guang and his friends instantly felt that the atmosphere around them was different. The screamer is like a human resources recruiter, while the giant master is a martial general. At the command of the giant master, he personally rushed to the front line and walked towards Luo Guang and his friends with heavy and slow steps. The blood plague zombies in other camps, although it was still daytime, all took steps and began to charge as if it was night. "Break out from the right. Michael will cover the rear." Sergeant Tan immediately judged that he could not fight hard, aimed at the open door on the right and started to break out, walking in the first place, clearing the enemies blocking the way in front of him. Damn it, Tanya fired and kept moving at the same time, following Sergeant Tan, consciously aiming at the blood plague zombies on both sides. Corporal Michael would not just run away like that. He was carrying too many things on his back, and he could not outrun the other three. He directly took out various explosives from his big backpack and threw them around like a fairy scattering flowers. Seeing this, Luo Guang temporarily stayed behind to provide shooting cover for Corporal Michael. Compared with the M4S90 semi-automatic shotgun, which needs to be loaded one by one, the Beretta M92F pistol is more suitable for the current situation. Pot, pot, pot. Luo Guang needed to ensure that every bullet was accurately delivered to the head of the blood plague zombie. The shooting method used was the isosceles triangle shooting method that Luo Guang first learned, which caused huge losses to the enemies in the small camp stably and quickly. However, the giant master did not get Luo Guang's bullets. It was not stimulated and was still slowly approaching Luo Guang and Corporal Michael, who stayed temporarily. Clang! Luo Guang heard a sound coming from the iron wall behind him that was blown open. It was the sound of the blood plague zombies hitting the broken iron wall. I don't know if the blood plague zombies on the bridge are not under the control of the giant master, so those zombies did not run. However, Luo Guang has bought enough time for Corporal Michael, and Corporal Michael began to throw out his treasured explosives. Thanks for the cover, now it's my turn. Corporal Michael held the grenade with both hands, handed it to his mouth, bit off the safety pins of the two grenades, and then threw them one after another into the camp and the iron wall hole behind him. There is no cover of the car here, so Corporal Michael threw it a lot farther. Two loud bangs. This is just Corporal Michael's opening ceremony. More grenades are thrown at the enemy to stop the blood plague zombies from charging, and Luo Guang has already changed to the second magazine to deal with the enemies that Corporal Michael did not blow up. Luo Guang, it's okay, you go quickly, I'll cover you, Michael shouted to Luo Guang, holding a brick-like thing in one hand. Luo Guang did not hesitate and immediately ran to the right door. Although there was no need to shoot, Luo Guang still helped Corporal Michael clear the way to break out to the right again. The grenade exploded around the giant overlord, blowing the giant overlord to the ground, but it did not cause much actual damage. The fragments of the grenade shot into the body of the giant overlord and were instantly blocked by the thick fat. The giant overlord was angered by Corporal Michael's grenade attack, and finally stopped walking leisurely, and made a standing start posture. Then with a howl, the giant overlord quickly charged, but the target was directly aimed at Luo Guang, who was breaking out. Luo Guang noticed the movements of the overlord when he howled. Seeing him charging, Luo Guang stepped hard, as if he had kicked the ground, and relied on his own powerful strength to rush forward like a bullet. The overlord missed the attack, but still waved his right hand to attack, making himself stop quickly. Corporal Michael, who was about to break out, was blocked by the overlord at this time, and a word of hum burst out instantly. "Don't pay attention to me," Michael shouted to Luo Guang, who had not yet left. The induction mine in his hand could not be wasted. In order to free his hands as soon as possible, Michael directly turned on the switch of the mine and threw it in front of him. The small camp actually had doors on three sides, so Corporal Michael had not given up hope of survival at this time, and ran to the door in the opposite direction with the M16 assault rifle. However, when Michael came to the door, he pulled the iron door and found that the door was locked. He was shocked and couldn't help but regret asking Luo Guang to ignore him and break out first. The giant overlord charged again. Corporal Michael heard the sound and vibration of the explosion behind him, and rolled over to avoid the attack of the giant overlord, who rushed through the mine explosion. The mine cut off the flesh on the giant overlord's leg, but it seemed to be only a minor injury to the giant overlord, and did not affect its mobility. Da-da-da, Corporal Michael fired two short bursts and killed the blood plague zombies approaching him. However, the giant overlord took this opportunity to approach Corporal Michael, clasped his hands tightly, raised them above his head, and hit Corporal Michael with a heavy blow. Corporal Michael had not stood up after rolling before, and he had no choice but to roll to the side again in a half squat. This time, Corporal Michael learned his lesson. After rolling over, he immediately stood up and used his shoulder to knock away a plague zombie that was rushing towards him. Then he used the thick handle of the M16 assault rifle to hit another plague zombie behind him, knocking out the front teeth of the plague zombie. The situation was urgent, and Corporal Michael had no choice. Taking advantage of this brief gap, Corporal Michael rushed to the open door on the right side of the camp. However, after a few steps, Corporal Michael was stopped by the plague zombie. Corporal Michael raised his gun and shot, just like Sergeant 10 before, but there were already many zombies in the camp at this time, and most of them could run. This forced Corporal Michael to constantly shake off and avoid the attacks of the plague zombies by turning, stopping suddenly, etc., but this made Corporal Michael even further away from the door on the right. The Overlord once again closed the distance between himself and Corporal Michael, swinging his sturdy right hand forward. Corporal Michael had no time to dodge and could only hold his M16 assault rifle horizontally to try to withstand the heavy blow. The Overlord's right fist was not blocked, and the M16 assault rifle was instantly knocked off course by the Overlord, and then it and the fist smashed into Corporal Michael's chest. Corporal Michael spat out a mouthful of blood, and was hit in the lungs, making him unable to breathe for a while. Looking at the blood plague zombies rushing towards him and the Overlord who was about to hit him with gravity, Corporal Michael could only force himself to pull out his pistol, aiming at his head, and pulling the trigger directly. On the other side, Luo Guang ran out of the small camp. Looking around, Sergeant 10 and Maya were nowhere to be seen. He only heard the sound of M16 assault rifles coming from the woods on the side, and many blood plague zombies were running from the road into the woods. Since Sergeant 10 and Tanya didn't wait for him and were forced into the woods by the blood plague zombies, Luo Guang could only continue to break out by himself. After looking at the number of blood plague zombies on the road, Luo Guang took out a mountaineering pick, one hand holding a mountaineering pick and the other hand holding a pistol, and ran towards the North District. After running about 300 meters, Luo Guang was now hanging behind a group of blood plague zombies who were also tireless. Although Luo Guang could run a marathon without breathing, the open terrain at this time allowed Luo Guang to confirm that there were no fast enemies like the Swift, so Luo Guang decided to kill the tails running behind him first. At this time, it was naturally time for the shotgun to appear. After all, Luo Guang had only used up the number 12 shotgun shells in his two pockets. After directly clearing out nearly 20 blood plague zombies that could run and jump behind him, Luo Guang was finally able to slow down and continue to move towards the North District. According to the original plan, after breaking through the wall, the 5-man team should directly find a car, short-circuit the ignition, and then go directly north along the road to the North District. But plans cannot keep up with changes. Who would have thought that a giant overlord would appear in a small camp? The appearance rate of mutant zombies is not high. But this is just right for me to act alone. Luo Guang thought so, put his mood in order, and walked towards the North District. He wanted to find the base of operations set up by the military there. The last day, please give me a monthly ticket recommendation ticket me out. Asterisk. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Evolution begins with Resident Evil. Author, Wei Tongmiao. Chapter 54. Chapter 54 Fusion of Blood Plague Virus. Walking along the road, the iron wall of the bridge is actually not far from the North District, only a few kilometers away. Luo Guang originally wanted to try the short-circuit starting method of a car engine taught by Jill, pick up a car from the road and go to the North District, but failed. Short-circuiting the car's engine failed, but Luo Guang did not give up and continued trying. Instead, he chose to continue on the road and finally arrived in the North District at about 2 o'clock in the afternoon. On the way to the North District, neither Sergeant Tan nor Tanya caught up with them. Luo Guang didn't know what happened to them, but he had no idea of going back to look for them, because Luo Guang had to get to the military station set up in the north before others. Search the area's base of operations in the hope of obtaining some useful information. The operations base was not difficult to find. Luo Guang quickly found it in a large parking lot of a park on the outskirts of the North District. The operational base was built using something called HESCO, and the cars originally parked in the parking lot were pushed aside by the military. This ASCO explosion-proof wall is a box made of mesh galvanized steel and polypropylene inside. It can be folded into the size of a board during transportation. When in use, you only need to open it and pour various materials into it. After planting local sand, mud, or stones, it becomes an explosion-proof and bulletproof cube more than 1 meter thick. The North Area Operations Base was built using these cubes. The wall is about 2 meters high. It is thick and solid and can withstand attacks from even the giants. However, the operational base must leave several entrances and exits, and for these entrances and exits, the military uses iron gates. Luo Guang cautiously came to the main entrance of the operations base. 2 M60s with no bullets fired were quietly placed on the defensive positions on the left and right sides of the main entrance, but the owner of the machine guns was no longer alive. After dealing with the blood plague zombies that were roaring in his direction one by one, Luo Guang walked into the unclosed door. Hell on earth! Luo Guang chose one word to describe the scene in front of him. A large number of mutilated limbs and corpses came into his eyes. The black and red blood on the ground made Luo Guang feel like he was in Raccoon City again. Frowning, Luo Guang walked around the operation base, but discovered something strange. Most of the blood plague zombies in the operation base are military personnel, and a small number of civilian zombies only appear in the outer parts of the operation base. This made Luo Guang suspect that the operation base was breached from the inside out. Luo Guang walked through the soldiers' residential camp one after another and came to the weapons depot next door. At least nearly half of the weapons in the arsenal were neatly arranged on weapon racks. This further proves that when the operations base fell, not all combatants were equipped with weapons. It further proves that the operations base was breached from the inside out. Now that he has arrived at the weapons depot, Luo Guang is not polite. A mountaineering pickaxe knocked the administrator in the weapons depot to death. Luo Guang observed the various weapons on the weapons rack as if he were going shopping. The main weapon here is still the M16 assault rifle used by Sergeant Tan and the others. There are a 1 and a 2 models. However, Luo Guang is not interested in this. As for the assault rifle, he prefers the M401 assault rifle used in Raccoon City, or the AK series. Bear weapon. In addition to M16 assault rifles, there are also many M1911 pistols, but these pistols only have 7-1 rounds of ammunition, and the .45-inch cold pistol bullets used are different from the 9mm pistol bullets used by Luo Guang at this time. Considering that the current pistols are powerful enough, Luo Guang did not change to the classic-style pistol M1911. After a brief look around, Luo Guang finally found a good thing, the weapon he had seen in Gil's hand before, an M79 grenade launcher. Luo Guang picked up the M79 grenade launcher, touched the thick barrel, then turned his head and continued looking for ammunition for this weapon. 5 high-explosive rounds, 1 close-range shotgun round and 1 smoke grenade. Luo Guang searched around and found only grenade ammunition and a special ammunition belt in a small box. Luo Guang stuffed the grenade into the special ammunition belt and tied the ammunition belt diagonally to his chest. After replenishing some number 12 shotgun shells, Luo Guang continued to explore the North Area Operations Base. In the command room, All the documents and materials inside have not been destroyed. Luo Guang saw burnt ashes in the brazier nearby, but there were still a large number of documents on the table. However, most of those documents were reports on missions in the North District. Luo Guang did not find many useful documents, except for a notification document and a report. There is a logo in the upper right corner of the document. Judging from the content of the document, this should be the emblem of an organization called the Future of Humanity Foundation. This is the name of an organization that Luo Guang has never heard of before and after his time travel. The notice they sent to the military stated that they asked the military to assist them in completing the research and investigation of the blood plague virus. This is probably the source of Sergeant Tan's mission. The report was about the contamination of a reservoir in the Trumbull Valley by a large number of corpses carrying the blood plague virus. Military investigators said that the corpses had even a piece of clothing on them, and their faces were damaged. Therefore, it is impossible to investigate where these bodies came from. Although it is unclear who these corpses are, investigators have put forward a speculation that the fall of Danforth City may not only be as simple as the blood plague virus leaking from the laboratory, but also a third-party organization adding insult to injury. Next, Luo Guang came to the medical station in the operations base, or the research room. The other places were built with tents, but the medical laboratory was built in the middle of the camp and was made of containers. It also had special defense lines around it and was heavily protected by the military. But by the time Luo Guang arrived at the medical laboratory, the researchers inside had basically become their experimental subjects. The mountaineering pick without mercy appeared again. After cleaning the medical laboratory, Luo Guang pulled the door of the container and locked it from the inside. Luo Guang came to the running refrigerator room of the medical laboratory and took out a red test tube from the refrigerator. The test tube had a small note taped to it with the word "original" written on it. Luo Guang originally thought that what was stored here would be some blood plague virus samples studied by those in biochemical suits. Unexpectedly, in addition to collecting and researching blood plague viruses, he actually obtained a sample of the original virus. It can be said to be an accident of joy. Looking at the original blood plague virus sample in his hand, Luo Guang thought about what to do with it. While thinking about it, Luo Guang left the refrigerator room and started looking for blood plague virus storage tools and a syringe outside. However, in the end Luo Guang only found a syringe. After obtaining this original blood plague virus sample, Luo Guang could say that he had completed his mission. But now that he had not found a usable storage container, Luo Guang could only forced to helplessly accept this tube of original blood plague virus. Under the guidance of the system, Luo Guang first gave himself a subcutaneous test injection and waited for the system to analyze the blood plague virus. Analyzing, matching database. After matching, similar virus data was found, with a matching degree of 56.99%, which can be used for adapter evolution. When he evolved before, Luo Guang was in a coma. But this time, Luo Guang stayed awake. After hearing what the system said, he sat on a chair and asked, "Where does the data in this database come from?" Like other knowledge, it comes with the system. The system answered Luo Guang's question, but Luo Guang felt that he did not get any substantial information from it. However, he and the system share will and woe, so Luo Guang doesn't worry about it. There is no conflict between the T virus and the blood plague virus. Adapters can continue to be injected with the original blood plague virus, the system reminded. Luo Guang did not inject immediately, but after making sure that he did not feel any discomfort in his body, he injected the remaining original blood plague virus into his body. Please adapt to choose the evolution mode, the system continued to report. Under the systematic explanation, one of the two modes allows the T virus and the modified blood plague virus to coexist, while the other is to use the T virus as the basis to absorb the modified blood plague virus. Absorption and fusion. Luo Guang chose the second one. T virus is an excellent virus that Umbrella Company likes because of its strong tolerance and potential, So Luo Guang must take advantage of this advantage of T-virus, and he will continue to encounter various viruses in the future, and Luo Guang does not want the viruses in his body to suddenly collapse and fight one day. The blood plague virus analysis progress is 100%, please adapt to choose the blood plague virus ability to absorb. A lot of words appeared in Luo Guang's field of vision. The first option is to increase speed and further strengthen the body's muscle groups, which can ensure that the adapter can withstand and exert more force without significant changes in body shape. This direction seemed to be the ability of a speedster. Luo Guang asked a lot, and made sure that his hands would not be elongated, let alone lose hair and baldness, and then listed this as an option. The second option is to allow the adapter's throat to generate a venom sac, which can generate corrosive and flammable liquid inside, and can shoot out the venom like a poisonous snake. The second direction was given priority to Luo Guang. He didn't want to have any accidents when practicing tongue flexibility with Jill mouth to mouth. The third option is to grow in size, increase muscle strength and make fat stronger, and even allow the adapter to withstand attacks from small bullets. Luo Guang thought about the appearance of the giant lord, and it would be difficult to live in human society like that, so this third option was also eliminated for Luo Guang. Thinking about one thing, Luo Guang continued to look at the next options. The fourth option is modifications to the throat and hearing systems that would allow the adapter to produce and hear specific bands of sound that humans cannot produce. The fifth option is pheromone manufacturing, where the adapter can emit a variety of pheromones. Luo Guang felt a little unclear about the fifth choice, so he asked about the situation in detail. Blood plague zombies can communicate with each other, and I believe adapters are aware of it, but in addition to emitting specific bands of sound, blood plague zombies also use a special pheromone to communicate and judge friends and foes. Based on the results of blood plague virus analysis, it can be inferred that the pheromone content that can be emitted by various blood plague zombie monsters is also different. The system explained. Luo Guang recalled the observations of the blood plague zombies in the past few days and said, I understand. The swifts, screamers, and giant overlords can all attract the surrounding zombies through sound, but the pheromone content of these blood plague monsters is different. So on the night when Maya stole things, although the screamers screamed, the zombies at the blood plague zombie gathering point across the street did not react. That's because in addition to hearing sounds of a specific wavelength, the blood plague zombies also need to feel specific pheromones to complete the communication. In addition to the screamer, the giant overlord just now was the same. Its roar did not affect the blood plague zombies outside the iron wall and make them run. This chapter is not over yet, please click on the next page to continue reading. Luo Guang's analysis is actually not complete. The giant overlord cannot affect the blood plague zombies outside the iron wall. Another reason is that those blood plague zombies are not considered soldiers led by the giant overlord, so they will not be affected too much by the giant overlord. There are 5 options in total. Luo Guang thought about it and asked, will the fourth and fifth options have any side effects on me? Because the system can read the thoughts of the adapter, it understands what side effects Luo Guang is referring to, and replied, there will be no side effects. The fourth option allows the adapter to emit and hear certain sound waves that humans cannot emit. The pheromone can be produced and released by the adapter on its own, and it is not a permanent ability. Then based on the first option, add the ability to emit and hear specific sound waves and pheromone production except for the first and third options, which are in conflict. The other 5 options can coexist, so Luo Guang wants the others. Received after confirming the feasibility of this plan, the system began to work. Start to remove unnecessary gene fragments of the blood plague virus, readjust and reconstruct the blood plague virus, removal is complete, reconstruction is complete. Start to command the T-virus to absorb and fuse the blood plague virus, progress 1.99%, progress 49.32%. Fusion is complete, inspection is complete, please confirm the situation with the adapter. After hearing that the fusion was complete, Luo Guang called up the attribute table. Adapter name, Luo Guang. Strength, 13. Flexibility, 12. Endurance, 16. Intelligence, 8. Willpower, 11. It doesn't seem to have improved much, and willpower has actually increased by 1 point. Luo Guang usually doesn't look at the attribute table, so he only found out that willpower has increased a little now. Spiritual attributes such as willpower cannot be updated in real time. We can only confirm the willpower improvement brought to the adapter by the Raccoon City incident during this operation in Trumbull Valley. The system explained, the attribute improvement is not big because the blood plague virus is not more advanced than the T virus. This fusion is more about perfecting and strengthening the T virus and increasing the functionality of the T virus. No wonder you didn't congratulate me on my successful evolution this time, Luo Guang finally reacted. Standing up, Luo Guang moved his hands and feet and felt that his body became more flexible. This was probably the change brought about by the improvement in flexibility. Luo Guang took out an energy bar and ate it to replenish the energy used during the fusion. While searching the documents on the desktop, he packed up all the research reports and research data files and took them away. After confirming that nothing was missed, Luo Guang left the medical laboratory and prepared to test his new ability. Meow, I can't find the invention date of the ESCO explosion-proof wall, so I'll assume it's already been invented. After thinking about it, I'll tentatively set the update time to around 12 noon to 1 p.m. Evolution begins with Resident Evil. Author, Wei Tongmiao. Chapter 55. Chapter 55. I am also the master. After the fusion is completed, Luo Guang can produce blood plague pheromones, which is the ability of the blood plague virus. Because Luo Guang is not skilled, he wasted a lot of energy. Finally, after consuming 2 energy bars, Luo Guang finally let himself be wrapped in a layer of blood plague pheromones and attached to his clothes. That should be enough. After absorbing the blood plague virus, Luo Guang could clearly feel the existence of these blood plague pheromones. Opening the door of the medical research room, Luo Guang walked out. At this time, he could feel the existence of every blood plague zombie around him, and Luo Guang felt that those blood plague zombies could also feel his existence, because when he walked in front of them, those blood plague zombies looked at him. Luo Guang held the mountaineering pick tightly and went to those blood plague zombies, staring at the blood plague zombies who were also looking at him, thinking that if there was anything wrong, he would take the initiative. These blood plague zombies have no problem with hearing and vision. They have tilted their heads and slightly opened their mouths, looking at Luo Guang, as if they were curious about Luo Guang, the newcomer. The blood plague zombie in front of him exhaled and let out a low roar. He is greeting the adapter, the system reminded. Well, I can indeed feel that the other party's blood plague pheromones have become active, as if they are very happy, but how did you hear this roar? Luo Guang adjusted the blood plague pheromones around his body to make his pheromones as close to the other party's pheromones as possible. Adapter, listen to those special bands that normal humans cannot hear. After the system reminded him, Luo Guang noticed the information given to him by the special bands hidden under the roar. Newcomer, hello. Luo Guang was stunned when he heard the words of the blood plague zombie. Originally thought that the communication between blood plague zombies was similar to the calls between animals, but he didn't expect to hear human language from this special band, just like the blood plague zombies were speaking English with the sound of the special band. Newcomer, dumb, because Luo Guang had adjusted the blood plague pheromones, the other blood plague zombies did not think that Luo Guang was an enemy. Another blood plague zombie joined the conversation and said, "Okay." Luo Guang tried to send out sound waves of a specific frequency band. Unlike other blood plague zombies, Luo Guang did not roar when he spoke. Newcomer, speak. I didn't find any food today. Let's take a rest. After the blood plague zombie said this, the other blood plague zombies also cheered for a while, and then the blood plague zombies stopped roaring, and the blood plague pheromones returned to calm. The things that the blood plague zombies usually discussed seemed very harmonious, but Luo Guang understood that the food they were talking about was living humans. After confirming the effect of the skills he had just learned on the blood plague zombies, Luo Guang felt that he could speed up the completion of this mission. The time reached 3 p.m. now. He was rushing to Danforth City. It would be night when he arrived there, so Luo Guang decided to find a place to rest before dawn, and by the way, he could also take a good look at the situation he got from the medical research laboratory. He did it right away. Luo Guang left the base of operations and prepared to find a place to rest. Walking out of the gate, Luo Guang focused his eyes on the M60 heavy machine guns on the defensive positions on both sides of the gate. He clenched his fists and felt his own strength. Luo Guang took away one of the M60 heavy machine guns and a box with a belt. It didn't take Luo Guang too much time to find a place to sleep, because the northern part of the town was mainly a commercial service area, and there were not many residential areas, so Luo Guang finally chose a furniture store and found a soft big bed as his place to stay tonight. After closing the doors and windows, Luo Guang sat on the bed and looked through the research reports and research data in the medical laboratory to confirm whether the latest intelligence studied by the researchers was different from the intelligence he obtained from Minister Guslin. Basically there is no difference, except for these documents, Luo Guang muttered to himself, and quickly selected the useful documents. In less than a month, the blood plague virus has undergone earth-shaking changes. First, a new organ appeared in the throat of the blood plague zombie, which allows the blood plague zombie to emit specific bands of sound that humans cannot emit while listening to specific bands of sound. Luo Guang read the information on the report and touched his throat. The adapter has no new organs. The system knew what Luo Guang was worried about and said. Normally, he would not be dissected or have a CT scan taken, but Luo Guang had to be on guard against whether Umbrella would suddenly go crazy and find his own people to do human experiments. It's good to not have multiple organs, Luo Guang thought so and continued to read the reports. The facts prove that the Overlord, the Swift, the Swollen Corpse and the Screamer can only be directly mutated by infected humans. Zombies that have become blood plague zombies cannot mutate and evolve into the above-mentioned blood plague monsters again. According to research and observation, it is speculated that the blood plague zombies have formed a new social structure, among which the giant Overlord is at the top of the new social structure. It is confirmed that it can command blood plague zombies including other blood plague monsters, but the Overlord can only command those blood plague monsters that are willing to accept the command, because there are military eyewitness reports that saw a battle between the Swift and the Overlord. Luo Guang recalled the battle with the giant Overlord in the Iron Wall small camp. He was very lucky that the giant Overlord he met did not have a tough character like the Swift among its younger brothers. In the city of Danforth, there are variants named Heart of Plague and Wall of Plague. The Heart of Plague looks like a pile of human remains or corpses made of plague zombies themselves, while Wall of Plague is a super variant of Heart of Plague. This chapter is not finished yet. Please click on the next page to continue reading the exciting content. These two strange variants of plague virus can release a unique pheromone that only plague creatures can emit to attract plague zombies to gather around them. At the same time, other pheromones produced by these plague virus bodies will interfere with radio communications to a certain extent. According to high-altitude surveys, the Wall of Plague in Danforth has occupied after absorbing most of the city. They tried to attack with ground-to-ground missiles and found that these plague walls have extremely high self-repair capabilities. Extremely high self-repair capabilities, Luo Guang asked the system, after absorbing the plague virus, has my self-healing ability been improved? No, the system immediately replied, saying, the plague virus does not carry genes that can improve self-healing ability, so it has no effect on the self-healing ability of the T-virus itself. It is speculated that the extremely high self-healing ability of the plague wall comes from its huge size. Okay, I understand, I don't want to become a fat man like the Overmind. Luo Guang interrupted the system. The document compares the development of the plague virus in Danforth City and the development of the plague virus in Trumbull Valley, and finds that the more the plague virus gathers, the faster it changes. For comparison, the researcher suggested that the plague zombies captured from Danforth City be released in the town of Trumbull to confirm the impact of a more relaxed environment on the plague zombies in Danforth City. Research results. No, Luo Guang didn't have any relevant research reports in the materials in his hand. Was it because it hadn't been completed yet? But if that was the case, why did those people in biochemical suits withdraw from the eastern part of the town? Luo Guang felt that he was still missing a piece of debris, which prevented him from making any inferences. Forget it, I don't understand. Luo Guang didn't want to guess randomly, which would make him fall into fixed thinking. He stuffed the report back into his backpack, and then took out some instant food from the backpack and ate it. The next morning, Luo Guang woke up and stretched, took a look at the surrounding situation, and confirmed that it was safe. Last night, Luo Guang heard the sound of M16 assault rifles coming from outside, but Luo Guang ignored it. He was going to act alone now. After doing a simple morning exercise, Luo Guang finished his breakfast, put his luggage on his back, held the M60 machine gun in one hand, and carried the ammunition belt box connected to the M60 machine gun in the other hand, and walked out of the furniture store. The sun was not strong, and the weather was warm. Luo Guang continued to move north. Along the way, Luo Guang exuded friendly blood plague pheromones while listening to what these blood plague zombies were talking about. As a result, the words of those blood plague zombies made Luo Guang very speechless. He always felt that he had broken into some elderly group. They were either talking about food or where to hide and rest. When he came to the mountain tunnel connecting Danforth City, it was blocked as expected. However, it was not an iron wall, but the ESCO explosion-proof wall mentioned earlier, and abandoned cars and other things piled up. The spacious road with 6 lanes in both directions now only had 1 lane left, allowing Luo Guang to pass through directly, so that Luo Guang didn't have to go back to find the explosives on Corporal Michael. However, not long after Luo Guang left the camp that blocked the tunnel, he met the local snake in the tunnel, a blood-red giant master. "Which place are you from?" The blood-red giant master spoke much more fluently than other ordinary blood plague zombies. "Everything outside is my territory." Luo Guang pointed to the direction he came from with an M60 heavy machine gun and said. "You lied. The food there is very strong," the blood-red giant overlord roared, trying to spit saliva all over Luo Guang. Luo Guang flexibly dodged the opponent's saliva attack and said, "But I just walked over there." "Ha ha ha, why did you come here?" the blood-red giant overlord said, and continued, "Interesting little guy, let me try your ability." The blood-red giant overlord seemed to want to take Luo Guang into his pocket and challenged him. My overlord Swift on the other side suddenly jumped onto the roof of an abandoned car and suggested to the blood-red giant overlord, "Let me come." Okay. As soon as the blood-red giant overlord finished speaking, the M60 machine gun in Luo Guang's hand immediately roared. Luo Guang's position was premeditated, so all the blood plague creatures were within a 160-degree range in front of him. Therefore, Luo Guang only needed to move the muzzle slightly to aim at the arrogant Swift, letting it feel what a real bullet storm was. The 9mm and 5.5 bullets instantly tore the Swift that Luo Guang suddenly attacked into pieces. After the Swift was dealt with, Luo Guang stopped and said, "What do you mean? You actually used the weapons in the hands of those food." The blood-red giant overlord did not think there was anything wrong with Luo Guang's sudden attack. Instead, he was stunned for a moment and said. The blood-red giant overlord only then understood what the black thing in Luo Guang's hand that made a loud noise and sprayed out flames was, but the M60 machine gun was basically installed on a sandbag, so the blood-red giant overlord did not recognize the weapon in Luo Guang's hand just now. "You, kneel down and submit to me." Luo Guang wanted to try whether he could become the overlord. "Impossible," the blood-red giant overlord refused, there can only be one overlord in each place, and you are too weak to be qualified. Alas, Luo Guang sighed without using the language of the blood plague zombies, thinking that he would like to try riding a giant overlord as a means of transportation. This chapter is not over yet, please click on the next page to continue reading. Luo Guang's eyes became sharp, and he took the initiative. The M60 machine gun roared again. This time Luo Guang wanted to tear the obstacles in front of him into pieces. The blood-red giant overlord did not expect Luo Guang to start fighting directly after a disagreement. He was a beat slower, and he had been hit by countless bullets. The better penetration of 7.62mm bullets also made the fat on the blood-red giant overlord unable to effectively resist the damage of bullets. He could not even roar to launch an attack. The blood-red giant overlord could only use his hands to desperately protect his head, and was beaten back by Luo Guang's M60 machine gun. Enough, I surrender to you, the blood-red giant overlord shouted and wanted to beg for mercy. Luo Guang took a look at the bullets in the ammunition box in his hand. There were not many bullets left, so he did not listen to the blood-red giant overlord and directly poured the remaining bullets on the blood-red overlord. The barrel of the M60 machine gun was red and steaming. It had completed its task excellently. Luo Guang threw the M60 machine gun directly to the ground and looked at the blood-red giant overlord. When he was about to say that he agreed to the other party's surrender, Luo Guang found that the blood-red giant overlord's arms had been broken by Luo Guang, and the small head protecting behind was naturally not spared and was blown up by two 7.62mm bullets. With a bang, the blood-red giant overlord fell to the ground. Seeing this situation, the blood plague zombies around him directly said that they wanted to do big things with Luo Guang. Are you all fence-sitters? Luo Guang thought in his heart without speech. Although it was not quite what Luo Guang expected, he still decided to take this group of brothers and continue to move forward to Danforth City. This mountain tunnel seemed to be the territory dominated by the blood-red giant. The brothers that Luo Guang brought sent messages to other blood plague zombies along the way, telling them about Luo Guang's heroic deeds. Listening to how the blood plague zombie boasted about his own strength, Luo Guang always felt awkward, but Luo Guang did not shut up the blood plague zombie. He kept those blood plague zombies who believed in his strength, and those who did not believe were all killed by Luo Guang. Luo Guang continued to move forward with more blood plague zombies. The swifts seemed difficult to subdue. Luo Guang walked to the exit of the tunnel and did not meet other swifts along the way. Instead, there were 5 more screamers and 3 swollen zombies in the team behind him. Danforth City has appeared in Luo Guang's vision. The whole city is shrouded in a red blood mist. The red and black blood plague wall spreads to the high-rise buildings in the city. The whole city is like a Cthulhu-style city, full of unspeakable weirdness. Master! Master! The cry of the blood plague zombie came from behind. Luo Guang did not realize that the master he was referring to was himself. After a while, he turned back and asked, "What's wrong?" In front. Another. Master. Territory. Fight. The blood plague zombie spoke fluently, and Luo Guang could only guess what it meant. In short, there are other masters in front, and it is obvious that the relationship between the two sides is not harmonious. Swelling Corpse and Screamer go back to the tunnel and wait, and the remaining blood plague zombies follow me. Luo Guang directly called the nameless blood plague monsters behind him according to the military's naming, and those monsters also magically understood. The swollen zombies and the screamers followed the order and left the team. The other blood plague zombies heard Luo Guang's order and had no intention of disobeying it. They continued to follow Luo Guang and walked towards the territory dominated by another giant. Meow meow meow. Asterisk. I have to go to work again tomorrow. It's uncomfortable. Evolution begins with Resident Evil. Author, Wei Tongmiao. Chapter 56. Chapter 56 Blood Plague Virus Research Institute. Then you will be responsible for holding back the other blood plague zombies, and I will deal with their overlords. As Luo Guang said this, one of the blood plague zombies behind him suggested, Overlord. Against Overlord. Luo Guang turned around and felt that the blood plague zombie who was talking was the same one that had been boasting about his strength before. Luo Guang thought for a while and asked, do you mean that I should fight against the opponent's overlord? Initiate. Challenge. The blood plague zombie continued to answer. Okay, the social structure of the blood plague creatures seemed to be very primitive, Luo Guang replied while thinking. Not long after, Luo Guang soon met the blood plague zombies controlled by other overlords and asked about his purpose. Luo Guang told the other party his purpose, looking for your master, I want to kill it. Luo Guang felt that he had overestimated the intelligence of the blood plague creatures before. Although they were not stupid, their current social structure was still in a state of strength. Human words might not be as effective as fists and bullets to the blood plague creatures. Therefore, Luo Guang was straightforward when talking to the blood plague creatures, and was not polite at all. The other party did not expect that Luo Guang, who looked like an ordinary blood plague zombie, would challenge his master. With a roar, he led other blood plague zombies to attack Luo Guang. Luo Guang stopped the blood plague zombies behind him who wanted to protect his master, and with a mountaineering pick in hand, he killed more than half of them in a few strokes. The remaining blood plague zombies saw that the situation was not right, and immediately some blood plague zombies staggered and ran to find their masters. Luo Guang originally thought that only the blood plague zombies in the tunnel were special, but the blood plague zombies fighting with him at this time were the same as those in the tunnel, basically those blood plague zombies with red eyes. Moreover, the attack methods of these blood plague zombies are richer and more diverse than those in Trumbull Valley, where only the blood plague zombies can bite. Their hands with the blood plague virus have learned how to swing, so their overall strength is a level higher. Dong, dong, dong. Just when Luo Guang dealt with the remaining two red-eyed blood plague zombies, the heavy footsteps of the giant master sounded. Luo Guang looked in the direction of the sound and immediately locked onto the giant master with red eyes. He then took out his M4S90 shotgun and stuffed a single-headed bullet into the chamber from the ejection port. Is this the guy who wants to challenge me? The blood-red giant Master Number 2, referred to as Master Number 2, roared at Luo Guang. Yes, surrender, or die. Luo Guang's blood plague pheromones became high as Luo Guang spoke, but there was no anger implied in it, only the confidence to win. At the Iron Wall camp, in addition to the giant overlord, there were other blood plague zombies and Sergeant Ten and others present, so Luo Guang did not take action to deal with the giant overlord. At this time, in a face-to-face duel, although there was no M60 machine gun, Luo Guang was not afraid, and even looked eager to try. Ahaha, you. Bang. Luo Guang had no intention of talking to the other party. He quickly raised his gun and aimed, and a single bullet directly opened a hole in the head of the unprepared Overlord Number 2. At this time, Overlord Number 2 seemed to be a stepping stone for the protagonist to show off his fashion value. He stood for a while before slowly falling back. This. Not only the blood plague zombies that Overlord Number 2 had once dominated, but also those blood plague zombies following Luo Guang were also stunned, especially the blood plague zombies that did not see how Luo Guang defeated the blood-red giant Overlord Number 1. At this time, they finally believed what the blood plague zombies at the scene said. You talk too much nonsense. So the other guys, do you want to stay with me or die? Luo Guang didn't expect the power of the single-shot bullet to be so great. He killed Lord Number 2 with one shot. He suddenly remembered that when he used a mountaineering pick to hit the blood plague zombies, he felt that the zombies' skulls were relatively soft. The other blood plague zombies originally controlled by Lord Number 2 looked at each other. As expected, they were all fence-sitters and directly joined Luo Guang's control. Let the new brothers follow behind him. Luo Guang opened the folded map in the notebook and confirmed the location of the military research laboratory in Danforth City. Then Luo Guang continued to set off, and soon he defeated Lord Number 3 in a duel, and collected a new batch of Blood Plague zombie brothers. Lord Number 3 was not killed instantly like Number 2 this time, and it was Lord Number 3 who took the lead in attacking without martial ethics, but Luo Guang used flexible positioning and the shotgun in his hand to play with Lord Number 3 like a monkey and then solved the opponent. Looking back at the mighty army of Blood Plague zombies behind him, Luo Guang finally understood why the military named the fat man the Lord, but now he also deserves the title of Lord. Luo Guang did not get lost and came to the large hospital outside Danforth City, Ximenfu General Hospital, which is the location of the secret Blood Plague Research Institute. The outer wall of this general hospital is covered by the Blood Plague Wall, and the red fog has seriously blocked Luo Guang's vision. Fortunately, Luo Guang is now completely immune to the invasion of the Blood Plague virus, so Luo Guang can breathe the air here without obstacles, otherwise he will be infected with the Blood Plague virus and become a Blood Plague zombie if he stays in this place Danforth City for a long time. You stay here and don't let food in, Luo Guang asked the cheap labor behind him to do security work. After that, Luo Guang walked into the Ximenfu General Hospital without waiting for the response of other Blood Plague zombies. According to the information from the intelligence agents who had been here, Luo Guang found the bodies of some of the intelligence agents sent by Umbrella Corporation and the entrance to the secret Blood Plague Research Institute. Miraculously, there was electricity supply in this research institute, so Luo Guang successfully opened the hidden door of the research institute using the ID card obtained by the intelligence agent before. Luo Guang walked inside with a shotgun and soon passed the disinfection area. After the disinfection, Luo Guang found that the blood plague pheromones around him were gone, and he couldn't help but praise himself for having the foresight to arrange his younger brother outside the hospital, otherwise it would be a big trouble. Luo Guang continued to walk inside, and there was a different world inside, as if he had come directly to a science fiction world, but it was a world of horror science fiction movies like Alien and Ishimura. Unlike the Research Institute of the Chicago branch, the overall color here is mainly gray and white, not bright white. The corridor is square, and there is a light tube emitting soft white light on the four corners. Unfortunately, this gray and white is stained with a layer of blood. After the light tube is stained with blood, the light emitted is also stained with bright red, making the whole corridor look full of horror. The plague zombies in this Plague Research Institute killed most of the intelligence agents who came before, so the only injured intelligence agent who survived in the end failed to find the storage device here and take the plague virus out of Danforth City. Luo Guang walked all the way in, and soon there was no trace of the fight between the intelligence agent and the plague zombies. At this time, Luo Guang thought that the plague heart and the plague wall would affect the information of radio communications, which was probably the reason why the surviving intelligence agent chose to take the information of the Secret Research Institute out first. Luo Guang first came to the director's office of the institute, but because of the bloodstains, most of the paper materials inside could not be viewed, so Luo Guang took out a camera and took a few photos of the entire office and those paper materials. The computer in the office can still be used, but Luo Guang did not find the password, so the information in the computer naturally could not be extracted and transferred to the electronic storage device. As for finding the password in this institute, Luo Guang felt that normal people would not write important passwords everywhere, so he gave up this unrealistic approach. Luo Guang also didn't know how to crack the computer, and the Chicago branch's equipment department didn't have that kind of foolproof cracking tool. Praying that the electronic storage device had a built-in cracking function, Luo Guang connected the electronic storage device to the computer, but there was no prompt about the cracking, so Luo Guang had to give up this technical job and chose to remove the computer's hard drive directly. After dealing with the blood plague zombies that could still move one by one along the way, Luo Guang came to the outside of the storage room and successfully found a special blood plague virus storage device in the room outside the storage room. The storage device is an equilateral octagonal long column. After twisting the switch on it, a cylindrical container can be pulled out from the long column. There are 5 grooves in it. Then just put the test tube containing the original blood plague virus into it. Considering that the blood plague virus may have leaked from the storage room, Luo Guang did not relax. He chose to hold a pistol in one hand and a storage device in the other hand and walked into the storage room. Seeing the situation in the storage room, Luo Guang frowned. There was a big hole in the wall of the storage room of the underground Blood Plague Research Institute, and there was a huge blood plague heart growing in the center of the storage room. The flesh and blood that trembled as if breathing grew out from the back of the blood plague heart and extended all the way into the hole in the wall. Luo Guang found that there were many 9mm shells falling on the ground at the door, but he did not see the enemies that were eliminated. Instead, he saw a researcher's body lying in the storage room and a Glock pistol that fell beside the researcher's body. From the scars on the researcher's body, it can be seen that the researcher committed suicide, and Luo Guang found a notebook on him. However, the current situation did not allow Luo Guang to check carefully, so Luo Guang put the notebook inside his jacket first. Like the research report, the blood plague heart in front of him did not seem to have any attack ability, and at the same time, for some reason, it did not show any reaction to Luo Guang's appearance, even though Luo Guang's blood plague pheromones were gone at this time. Looking around, Luo Guang saw a test tube of the original blood plague virus in a refrigerator that was still in operation, so he walked over and put the 4 original blood plague virus samples into a dedicated storage device. At this point, his mission was mostly completed. On the other side, the blood plague heart in the storage room was still beating like a heart, constantly releasing blood plague pheromones. Luo Guang could feel from the blood plague pheromones that the blood plague heart seemed to be calling other blood plague creatures to come. Luo Guang thought about it and decided to do an experiment, so he picked up the body of a blood plague zombie from the ground outside, grabbed it by the feet and dragged it directly to the storage room, and then threw the blood plague zombie onto the blood plague heart. Then Luo Guang took out his camera and began to shoot the situation in the storage room, especially the blood plague heart. What surprised Luo Guang was that when he came back from taking a round of photos, the body of the blood plague zombie really merged into the blood plague star, and nearly half of its body had been submerged in the blood plague heart. When Luo Guang stood in front of the blood plague heart and was about to take a photo, a voice came out of the mouth of the blood plague zombie that Luo Guang had dragged over. Hello. This sentence was not spoken through a special band of sound. What Luo Guang heard was the normal human voice. Hello. Luo Guang jumped back, his scalp felt a little numb, but he still replied to the other party and asked, "Who are you?" "I didn't have a name originally, but the person next to you who gave up his life seemed to call me the Heart of Plague," the Heart of Plague said. Luo Guang saw that there was no light in the eyes of the plague zombie, but the mouth kept moving. He wondered if it was the part that was attached to the Heart of Plague that allowed the Heart of Plague to control the plague zombie to speak. This chapter is not over yet, please click on the next page to continue reading. You suddenly spoke, do you have something to say to me? Luo Guang was unsure of the Heart of Plague's intention. According to the research report, the Heart of Plague was very fragile without the protection of the plague zombie, but he took the initiative to find Luo Guang. Wasn't he worried that he would plot against it? Thinking of this, Luo Guang suspected that the Heart of Plague had attack methods that those researchers didn't know about. I have a question. Why did the human who fell beside you attack me? The Heart of Plague explained where the bullets of the 9mm shells on the ground went. Because you attacked humans. Luo Guang did not hide his hostility and said directly and clearly. But we are just defending ourselves. But because Luo Guang did not emit plague pheromones, Plague Heart did not seem to feel Luo Guang's hostility, but just felt confused. Luo Guang pointed to the corpse of the plague zombie and said, he was originally a human. Plague Heart was speechless for a moment. It seemed to be thinking, and finally said slowly, so there is no possibility of coexistence between us. Luo Guang shook his head, impossible. Do you see any living people in Danforth now? In fact, Luo Guang can coexist with plague creatures at this time, but Luo Guang does not intend to say it. So, Are you going to use the weapon in your hand to get rid of me? Plague Heart continued to ask, like a child who had just been born. Luo Guang was holding a camera and a pistol in his hands at this time. Because the pistols looked similar, Plague Heart asked this question. No, it's too difficult, and you have already escaped from this research institute through the hole in the wall. Luo Guang did not say it for sure, and tried to test it at the same time. Yes, this is only a small part of me, the Heart of Plague said. At this moment, I am this city, and I am the first Heart of Plague produced in this city. Perhaps you humans should call me the City of Plague, or the King of Plague. So you just want to ask me if humans and you can coexist? Luo Guang ignored the other party's boasting and asked. Yes. After the Heart of Plague finished speaking, there was a rumble, and a huge tentacle broke through the wall, drilled out, and waved in front of Luo Guang's eyes as if in protest. Human, although there is a life and death struggle between our two species, as a reward for answering my question, you can leave here safely. The Heart of Plague tore off its weak disguise at this time, but Luo Guang did not react in fear, and took a photo with his backhand. Luo Guang was not idle when talking with the Blood Plague Heart. He also took a few photos. Seeing that the half-meter thick wall was easily pierced by the other party, Luo Guang decided not to fight with the other party in this narrow place. Thank you, Luo Guang said politely and left the storage room. This thing can't be kept. After leaving the Blood Plague Heart, Luo Guang breathed a sigh of relief. The first thought in his mind was that the Blood Plague organism that claimed to be the King of Blood Plague would become a great threat to mankind in the future, but he did not have enough power to deal with the other party at this time, and there was no special medicine for the Blood Plague virus like the Sunlight vaccine, so Luo Guang could only hope that the X organization was really as powerful as they implied, and could mobilize enough fierce firepower to deal with the Blood Plague King. It is said that there is software that can automatically correct wrong characters. I plan to find it and try it. By the way, the plot of The State of Decay is about to come to an end, and what happened here will also have an impact on the whole world in the future. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Evolution begins with Resident Evil. Author, Wei Tongmiao. Chapter 57. Chapter 57, Leaving the Valley and New Mission. Luo Guang looked worried. He put the storage container full of original Blood Plague virus into his backpack and took a new storage container outside the storage room. He was going to collect the Blood Plague virus from other Blood Plague creatures. After confirming that there was nothing missing, Luo Guang was about to leave the secret Blood Plague Virus Research Institute. With the experience from last time, this time when Luo Guang let the Blood Plague pheromone cover himself again after leaving the disinfection area, he did not spend much energy to successfully cover his whole body with Blood Plague pheromones. After leaving the hospital, Luo Guang led his brothers back the same way. At this time, the Blood Plague monsters under Luo Guang's control were only swollen corpses and screamers, but the blood of the corpse of the Overlord number 3 that Luo Guang solved should not have been drained, so Luo Guang quickly collected the blood of 3 Blood Plague monsters. Finally, Luo Guang looked back at the city of Danforth shrouded in blood mist, and after letting the Blood Plague zombies following him stay in the tunnel on standby, he returned to the northern part of Trumbulltown. Luo Guang stretched himself. His mission had been completed and he could withdraw the same way. But before that, he needed to make a phone call. Hello, Greenwell. This is Luo Guang. After leaving Danforth City, his cell phone had a signal. Luo Guang returned to the furniture store where he stayed last night and called Emma Greenwell using the phone number given to him by Organization X. What's the matter? Aren't you going to carry out the mission given to you by the minister? Luo Guang had naturally reported to Organization X when he went to Trumbull Valley to do business. At the same time, Luo Guang also confirmed that Minister Guslin was indeed a member of Organization X, and Minister Guslin had been a member of Organization X from beginning to end. He was an undercover sent into the Chicago Branch Institute at the beginning of its establishment. That mission was about the new virus. I told you about it, right? In order to show that he had not concealed anything from the organization, Luo Guang naturally told the other party about Guslin's mission. Yes, the minister will bring the company's research data and results of the new virus to the organization through you, so do you have any questions? Although the communication is encrypted, please keep it short. Emma still didn't understand why Luo Guang found her during the mission. At the same time, because of the trust in her organization's technology, the two sides only omitted the subject's name in the communication and did not further encrypt it with code words. That kind of new virus has intelligence, can communicate with humans, and understands that it cannot coexist with humans. At this time, a new virus life form the size of a city is still growing, and ordinary ground-to-ground missiles cannot solve this thing. Luo Guang told Emma this information. I understand what you mean. I will report your important information to the organization. Emma finally understood what Luo Guang meant, that is, Luo Guang discovered an organism that may threaten the status of mankind on the earth, so he wanted to prevent it before it happens, so he came to her to explain the situation. Emma also understood the importance of this information, but she herself was just a useful tool under the organization and had no decision-making power, so she could only report Luo Guang's information to the top and let the big man above make the decision. That's it? I have completed the minister's mission and will withdraw from the valley. Luo Guang was just doing his part as a human being. He could not decide other things. Got it, Emma said and hung up Luo Guang's phone. A second later, Emma's phone rang again. Anything else? Emma was also on a mission at this time, so her tone was a little impatient. How many original samples of the new virus do I have? Does the organization need it? Luo Guang still believed that gunfire was stronger than biological weapons, and he did not want to put all his chips on Umbrella's research, so he asked this question. Okay, I will contact someone to wait for you in the town. I will give you the contact number when the time comes, and you can go directly to him. That's it, goodbye, Emma said and hung up the phone again. Jack Jones asked, Luo Guang calls you when he has something to do. He doesn't want to pick you up, does he? Emma glanced at him and said, don't talk nonsense. This is called keeping in touch. Although it is annoying sometimes, it is better than those who are self-righteous or self-willed. Otherwise, his fate will be like the people here, who will be directly cleared out by the organization. Haha, Jack shot the seriously injured man at his feet and smiled. Yes, these guys are abandoned by the organization because they are self-righteous. At this time, Emma and Jack were in a warehouse, cleaning up the battlefield. People are always so greedy, Emma sneered, opened a suitcase, and said, we found the G-virus. Emma took out a test tube containing the G-virus and confirmed that it was the mission target, then put it back, closed the suitcase, and said, you've already made a lot of money, but you still want to raise the price. Do you really think that rich people are all mentally retarded? Speaking of which, according to the investigation report, Luo Guang seems to be a greedy person, right? Jack thought of this and felt that Luo Guang called him when he had something to do, which looked more like asking for credit, so he no longer worried that Luo Guang would snatch Emma Greenwell, whom he admired. But he knows more about what it means to advance and retreat in moderation, and he also understands a simple truth: the talents that the organization intends to absorb will have professionals responsible for personal intelligence collection and related personality and psychological analysis. So Emma said so confidently, in Luo Guang's view, no matter how much money you have to live to spend it. Yes, but it's a pity that people here don't understand this truth. Jack shrugged, looked at the black electronic watch in his hand, and said, now that we have found the G-virus that the organization wants us to recover, let's evacuate it quickly and clean it up. The dolphins are coming, and I don't want to face those people. This chapter is not finished yet. Please click on the next page to continue reading the exciting content. Emma understood that the reason why Jack didn't want to face the scavengers was not because of how scary the scavengers were. It was just that those scavengers who were used to cleaning up the bloody scene would look like they were seeing monsters when they saw the scene created by the two of them. To both of them, which made Jack feel uncomfortable. "Let's go." Emma picked up the suitcase and left the warehouse with broken limbs on the floor. On the other side, Luo Guang did not encounter Tanya and the others when he moved from the North District to the East District. The Big Mac Overlord in the Iron Wall camp was solved by Luo Guang and the blood of Overlord number 3 was replaced. At the same time, Luo Guang also it was considered revenge for Corporal Michael. Because there were no communication tools such as walkie-talkies between him and Tanya, Luo Guang had no choice but to leave without saying goodbye. In fact, Luo Guang hadn't thought of a reason to say goodbye, so he didn't really want to meet the other person. Because the weapons on his body were a bit too scary, Luo Guang wrapped the unused grenade gun and the shotgun on his body with canvas, and then buried them together with the matching grenades and shotguns in a tree hole on a hidden trail in the valley. Inside. In the end, the rest of the things could be said to fall into place. Luo Guang successfully arrived at the small town outside the Trumbull Valley through the Valley Trail and handed over a tube of original blood plague virus samples together with the blood samples of other blood plague monsters. Become the liaison officer of Organization X. A few days later, Luo Guang returned to the Chicago branch safely. As soon as he got off the car, Luo Guang saw Emma and Jack. "Why are you here?" Luo Guang did not tell the town's organization liaison officer when he was leaving and which train he was going to take. "Follow me." Emma didn't answer and motioned for Luo Guang to follow. Afterwards, several people came to a cubicle in a coffee shop near the station. This cafe is opened by people from our organization, and it adopts a membership system, so we usually talk about some more important things here, Emma explained. "You only need to bring your driver's license when you come here. The main reason is that the coffee here is also good." Jack also explained why he chose to talk here. "What do you want to say to me?" Luo Guang asked after ordering a cup of Blue Mountain black coffee. "The first thing is about the blood plague virus organism you said." Emma told Luo Guang the organization's views. "The organization has already started to verify what you said. If the situation in Danforth City, if it's really that bad, I think Danforth City might just get cleaned up like Raccoon City." When Emma said this, she paid attention to Luo Guang's reaction. But there was no strange expression on Luo Guang's face. He didn't seem surprised. He just nodded and asked, "The right choice. What about the second thing?" "Aren't you surprised?" Emma asked strangely. "It's not surprising. Although I don't know what kind of organization we have to consider whether the ship of Organization X is stable." "Okay, the second thing is that there are new tasks." Emma agreed with Luo Guang's view of the organization and answered Luo Guang's question. Hearing that he had just come back and had to go on a business trip again reminded Luo Guang of some unforgivable days during his time as a social worker. He frowned and said, looking like he didn't want to work, "I ask for a holiday." This time it was Emma and Jack's turn to be stunned. Neither of them expected Luo Guang to reply like this, and the way the two looked at each other made Luo Guang feel a little funny. "Unfortunately, our job has no holidays, unstable working hours, and no overtime pay, but the salary is high." Jack came back to his senses and felt that Luo Guang's words were a bit to his liking, and said with a smile, "Okay, but let's talk about the remuneration later." Luo Guang didn't have to take a vacation, but he had to speak out his needs. "Only children who can shout will get milk. The second task is not for you to do immediately. We also need to do some operations here, so you have about 10 days to rest. Of course, this is the case where Umbrella Company has not arranged a task for you," Aima explained. "Afterwards, you will be transferred to Umbrella's Paris Research Institute. We need you to obtain the parasite Nemesis Alpha used to create the Nemesis Tyrant, codenamed Alpha Parasite. Are there any of our people in the Paris Research Institute?" Luo Guang wanted to confirm the difficulty of the task. "No," Emma answered directly, saying, Although betrayal is Umbrella's corporate culture, the European branch also takes a very close look at it. For a long time, we could only instigate one person from Umbrella to rebel. A small researcher, I bought a lot of Umbrella Company research information from him, but after all, his position is low, and that's just peripheral information. And that guy was so careless that people from Umbrella discovered that he was selling company intelligence. Jack said about the information collected by Organization X. According to the intelligence, the researcher's wife was directly dealt with, and he and his son were probably arrested for experiments. You said it so horribly, doesn't it dampen my enthusiasm for the mission? Luo Guang said speechlessly. But aren't you betraying the company now? Jack said with a smile. Okay, Jack. Emma interrupted the conversation between the two and said, anyway, the specific content of the mission is like this. Do you have any questions about the details? What identity am I transferred to the European branch in? Luo Guang started a question and answer game. A survivor of Raccoon City and a collector of combat intelligence for the Goddess of Vengeance. Emma drank a sip of Spanish milk coffee, moistened her throat, and answered. This chapter is not finished yet. Please click on the next page to continue reading the exciting content later. Just assisting in research. There may be other intelligence tasks, the specific situation depends on the arrangements over there. How to evacuate? It depends on the situation. I am still your contact person. You can tell me after you complete the task. The organization will send someone to collect you. After that, you will evacuate directly to the American branch or something else. It depends on whether you have been discovered. Where is the parasite and in which department? The Nemesis project is carried out at the Paris Institute No. 6. According to intelligence, the embryos of the parasite are stored in the virus storage room of the Paris Institute, and some parasites are being cultivated in nutrient solution. For the organization, it doesn't matter whether it is an embryo or an adult. Emma continued to answer. I need intelligence from the various personnel in the European branch. Luo Guang plans to spend some time analyzing the personalities and hobbies of the ministers in the European branch. The junior employees are still unreliable, so it is better to go the upper level route. Okay, I will send it to you later, and the relevant operation expenses can also be reimbursed directly. Emma said that the organization is rich and powerful, and as long as it is to complete the task, the organization will not be stingy with money. What about the reward? He felt that the X organization didn't have much intelligence on Europe, and didn't give him any documents to read this time, so Luo Guang didn't ask more about the mission content and turned to more practical things. Complete the mission, $500,000 for each parasite, paid in full directly. I'm going to change a new account later and send it to you then. Luo Guang didn't know Luo Guang's bank account at Umbrella before, so he could only open a new bank account, which happened to prevent Umbrella from checking his previous bank account and finding that other organizations gave him a lot of money. Understood. Is there anything else? Emma wrote this down and said, the reward for the blood plague virus mission will also be paid to you after you have a new bank account. Understood, and I need a passport, otherwise I can't go to Europe. Luo Guang took a sip of coffee, thought about the passport, and said, okay, we'll have someone contact you when we're ready. After Emma finished speaking, both sides fell into a brief silence. If there's nothing else, then that's it. Jack had finished his coffee a long time ago, and sitting in one place to chat was not suitable for his personality. He looked at Luo Guang a little impatiently and said, okay, I'll contact you if you have anything. Luo Guang naturally noticed Jack's impatience, drank the rest of the coffee in one gulp, and said. Luo Guang put down the coffee cup and stood up, thank you for the coffee. As soon as he finished speaking, Luo Guang ran away, leaving the two of them in a mess in the coffee shop cubicle. Meow. Evolution begins with Resident Evil. Author, Wei Tong Miao. Chapter 58. Chapter 58. I just want to change the sheets and pillows. After leaving the coffee shop, Luo Guang went to different banks to open 2 bank accounts, and told Emma Greenwell one of the bank accounts so that the other party could transfer the money as soon as possible. Luo Guang then returned all the way to the Chicago branch's research institute and handed the original blood plague virus sample in his backpack to Director Guslin of the Virology Research Department. The two met, and when Minister Guslin asked how Luo Guang obtained the original blood plague virus sample in the secret research institute, Luo Guang made up a story about sneaking all the way to Minister Guslin in order to conceal his ability. Thank you. Minister Guslin opened the blood plague virus storage container and confirmed the number and type of samples inside. According to the intelligence, no blood samples of blood plague creatures such as screamers have been collected. No. Luo Guang shook his head and said, sneaking into the secret research institute is enough, but you still plan to let me fight all the way there. Moreover, the velociraptors are fast and attack well, the screamers will attract terrifying zombie swarms, the bloated zombies will explode at a moment's notice, and the Big Mac Lord can break the wall with one punch. These blood plague monsters are difficult to deal with. Haha, thank you for your hard work, but you actually discovered the extra organs on the blood plague zombies, and then thought of hanging the blood of the blood plague zombies with these organs on your body to cover up your own smell. You are worthy of being a survivor of Raccoon City. Guslin picked up the blood plague zombie organ that Luo Guang brought back in a plastic bag, looked at it, and said, knowing that this organ exists, with a little research, we can avoid a lot of detours. Luo Guang gave the blood samples of the screamer and other blood plague creatures as well as a tube of the original blood plague virus sample to Organization X, so Luo Guang from Umbrella Company submitted this special organ. Because this special organ is found in many blood plague zombies and does not seem to be particularly rare, Luo Guang used it to silence Umbrella Company. The most important thing is that it is important evidence for the stealth story he made up. As long as Umbrella conducts research on special organs, it will naturally discover the existence and role of blood epidemic pheromones, and then it will believe its own stealth story. Because there was a possibility that surveillance equipment would be installed in Minister Guslin's office, Luo Guang's story only covered how he obtained the original blood plague virus sample. As for the blood plague king, Luo Guang did not say anything. By the way, speaking of which, I would like to ask, what happened to the company while I was away? I see there seemed to be a lot of protesters outside the building. When Luo Guang came back, he happened to see the security guards blocking the door. Someone from outside, so Luo Guang entered the Chicago branch through the back door. The negotiations between our company and the Hexagon have broken down. This is related to the existence of Umbrella, and Luo Guang's confidentiality level is high enough, so Minister Guslin said without concealment. Then, the Hexagon he used his killing move to push out the survivors of Raccoon City. Guslin continued to explain the situation. Those survivors approached the news media funded by the Hexagon. With the permission of the Hexagon, those news media unscrupulously polished the truth about the Raccoon City disaster and published it. What's the truth about the disaster? What's the truth about the destruction? Luo Guang grasped the key point of Minister Guslin's words. Haha, the truth about the destruction of Raccoon City was naturally not broadcast. Minister Guslin was not surprised by this situation. The military used weapons of mass destruction on its own territory to destroy evidence, causing a fire in the Aclay Mountains. Isn't the Hexagon afraid that the company will expose this? Luo Guang wanted to know Umbrella's countermeasures. Don't be afraid. First, the military has been rescuing survivors before the sterilization plan. Second, before the sterilization plan was implemented, Raccoon City was declared a no-man's land. Minister Guslin still takes this matter relatively seriously. Thorough, said, as for the fire in the Aclay Mountains, only environmental organizations will care. But I was still in Raccoon City at that time, and I was not rescued. I even contacted the rescue helicopter, and the military also knew about it. Luo Guang doubted that those people would really believe that Raccoon City was a no-man's land at that time. But you are still alive. Minister Guslin answered Luo Guang's question in one sentence. He and those who survived Raccoon City are the humanoid propaganda GG of the results of the Lighthouse country's military rescue. I see Luo Guang lowered his head and thought. However, the information released by the Hexagon building to the news media only mentioned the biochemical leak caused by the company, and did not mention the biochemical crisis or biochemical weapons. Minister Guslin looked at Luo Guang and said. What about threatening to announce the biohazard incident? No, it will only make the company's situation worse, and it will definitely attract more people to add insult to injury. Luo Guang rejected his idea and said, that Hexagonal tell us about the collusion between the building and umbrella company. But the current situation seems more like the company is biting people and trying to drag others into trouble. That's right, so the company's public relations people haven't come up with an effective plan yet. Guslin feels that umbrella is really about to be pushed to the end. He still has to keep a low profile now, as long as he spends this period of time safely. And then you can return to the organization to enjoy the benefits. Well, we can only look at the public relations side. Luo Guang said this, looking worried about Umbrella Company, but he was snickering in his heart, saying that the situation of Umbrella Company deserved it. Minister Guslin thought of something and said, by the way, about your compensation. This chapter is not over yet, please click on the next page to continue reading. Speaking of which, please transfer the compensation to my new bank account. Luo Guang then told Minister Guslin about opening a new bank card and the new bank account. Oh, I understand. I'll tell my secretary to transfer the money later. But why do you want to change your bank account so suddenly? Minister Guslin looked at Luo Guang with a puzzled look. In my hometown, there is an old saying, a cunning rabbit has 3 burrows. Luo Guang explained the meaning of the cunning rabbit's 3 burrows. I see, this is similar to my strategy of buying financial products. Do you want me to recommend a few funds or stocks to you? Minister Guslin also bought a lot of financial products for his retirement fund. That's not necessary, and Minister, aren't you afraid of the financial crisis? Luo Guang vaguely remembered that the world before crossing over was the Asian financial crisis that broke out in 1998. Haha, of course I'm afraid, but the funds I bought are all internal funds, and the stocks are basically medical and the like, so the impact is not too big. Minister Guslin laughed. I see, but I'd better skip the financial products. I'm alone now, and my job is very dangerous. I may die at any time, so it's better to use the money for enjoyment. Luo Guang shook his head and instinctively refused to buy financial products, especially since a small person like him with a low status is just a leak in the eyes of financial crocodiles. That's right. Minister Guslin felt that there were still many differences between him and young people in their concepts of money, so he didn't force himself to be optimistic about fund stocks. It's getting late, I'll leave first, and it's a bit tiring to rush back all the way. Luo Guang saw that Minister Guslin started chatting with him, which meant that there was not much work to talk about, so he planned to go back to the hotel to rest. Okay, take the time to rest well. The company seems to have new actions recently, and you may be named to do it. Minister Guslin has his own channels to obtain the trends of the company's senior management, and reminded Luo Guang. Understood. Luo Guang said goodbye and then left the Chicago branch. When Luo Guang finished dinner and returned to the hotel room he rented in Chicago before going to Trumbull Valley, it was already 7:12 p.m. This hotel was recommended by Emma Greenwell after Luo Guang asked her. According to Jack, when the two of them came to Chicago to do business, they would basically choose to stay in this hotel and rent a double room as their residence. Because the X organization has a stake in this 20-story hotel, under the leadership of Emma, Luo Guang rented a luxury suite here for a long term at a discount price of nearly half the price as his residence. Although the price after a 50% discount is still much more expensive than the monthly rent outside, staying in the hotel includes breakfast and lunch, and there is also a very important advantage, that is, there are hotel security guards, and basically no thieves will break into the house, which has a good guarantee in terms of safety. Taking the express delivery at the front desk, Luo Guang returned to his room. Because Luo Guang specifically asked not to clean the room every day and not to allow others to come in when he was not there, the items in the room were not messy, just covered with a layer of dust, just like before Luo Guang left. Then Luo Guang called the front desk and asked them to find someone to change the sheets and pillows and arrange for someone to clean the room at 10 o'clock tomorrow morning. While waiting for the person who changed the sheets to come, Luo Guang did not take advantage of this time to do anything, but just sat on the chair on the balcony, looking at the prosperity outside and thinking about life. Ding dong, soon, the bell rang at the door, interrupting Luo Guang's time to think about life. Luo Guang returned to the house, closed the balcony door, drew the curtains, and then walked to the door slowly. Through the cat's eye, he could see a beautiful woman wearing a short skirt-made outfit with fishnet stockings standing at the door. Luo Guang recognized that this maid outfit was the uniform of the waiter in the hotel cafe, and he couldn't help but wonder. "I'm here to clean," the person behind the door said so. The cleaner seemed to know that Luo Guang was observing him through the cat's eye. After saying that, he took a few steps back, turned sideways, and revealed his charming figure with a round front and a curved back. Luo Guang thought that the hotel in which this organization participated should be more formal, and there would not be so many messy things, such as small cards, door-to-door services, etc. But on second thought, this kind of thing does not seem to be surprising in the West. It was just that the other party's answer made Luo Guang suspect that the person outside the door might have other purposes for appearing here. The key is that Luo Guang himself did not call for cleaning, but just asked the waiter to come and change the sheets and pillows. At the same time, the person outside the door did not seem to bring any related cleaning tools, and there was no cleaner's badge on his chest. This showed that he was not a serious cleaner. "No, I just asked someone to change the sheets. The cleaner will come tomorrow." Luo Guang did not open the door, and directly refused behind the door. It's not that Luo Guang didn't want to relieve Jill's loneliness after not seeing him for many days, but he was suspicious at the moment, so he was more worried that this uninvited person might be a trap, or someone sent by other organizations to do something bad to him. "Guest, you are such a joker." The person outside the door turned around, facing the door, half squatting slightly, his snow-white hand slid up from both sides of the plump thighs, across the slender waist, and stroked her round breasts again. With a little blush on his face, he said seductively, "The meaning of changing the sheets is to ask for that service, right? After all, the sheets will be dirty." This chapter is not over. Please click on the next page to continue reading. "So you have never thought that I really need someone to change the sheets?" Luo Guang was really speechless, and suddenly understood why the other party appeared at his door. In short, it is because doing that kind of thing will dirty the sheets and pillows, so the front desk of this hotel will use changing the sheets as a signal for special services. What? The other party was also stunned when he heard Luo Guang's words, and the hand that had just touched the small belly button that was not covered by the maid outfit and was about to slide into the valley also stopped. "I rented this room for a long time. I haven't been back for a while because of work, so I need to change the sheets and pillows. Your front desk knows that I rented the room for a long time. Why did you make a mistake and not confirm it?" Luo Guang opened his eyes wide to watch the other party's hand movements. The other party suddenly stopped, which made Luo Guang feel a little disappointed, and there was a resentment in his tone. Hearing Luo Guang's words, the other party also felt a little embarrassed, and complained in his heart that the front desk staff did not confirm whether special services were really needed. However, this was Luo Guang and the maid-dressed beauty who misunderstood the front desk. After all, in the eyes of the front desk, this kind of thing is really hard to confirm, especially Luo Guang has an Asian appearance, which is considered to be a more traditional type by the front desk. The maid-dressed beauty quickly regained her professional smile and asked in a very professional manner, "Do you need my service, sir? You are a VIP customer of the hotel, so there is a discount." This delicate words made Luo Guang a little impulsive, but Luo Guang finally refused the other party's service and said, "No, I am too tired today." "Okay, sir." Although the service failed and he would lose a sum of income tonight, the maid-dressed beauty outside the door still keenly noticed Luo Guang's hesitation behind the door. Thinking that the other party did not look like a person who was short of money, she planned to take the initiative and get this customer before her sister. The maid-dressed beauty thought so, and gave herself a GG, saying, "If the guest needs it in the future, you can also contact the front desk and directly say that you need the service of number 522. I look forward to serving the guests." "Okay, I will definitely find you next time if I need it." Don't hit the smiling person. Since the other party said so, Luo Guang also politely replied that he would definitely do it next time. "Sorry to bother you, guest." The maid-dressed beauty had worked in the service industry before, so she responded very appropriately, saying, "I will inform the front desk later that you need to change the sheets and pillows." "Thank you." It seems that this kind of service is related to the hotel. Luo Guang thought so, and confirmed through the cat's eye that the other party had left the door. After such an incident, Luo Guang no longer had the idea of going to the balcony to blow the wind, and turned on the TV to watch it, especially the news channel. Luo Guang wanted to see if he could confirm who the Raccoon City survivors were who contacted the news media. However, the pictures and sounds of the Raccoon City survivors had been processed, so Luo Guang did not recognize anyone he knew. Just as he felt sorry, someone rang the doorbell outside the door. Luo Guang looked outside the door again through the cat's eye and confirmed that this time he really came to change the sheets and pillows. After changing the sheets and pillows, the waiter left the room. No one disturbed him, so Luo Guang took out the hard drive removed from the Secret Research Institute and the research documents of the North District Operations Base, sorted them out, and then packed them up again, preparing to find an opportunity to give these things to Jill and others. After packing up, Luo Guang took a shower, watched TV, and fell asleep while thinking about how to spend this short vacation. Meow meow meow. I tried a few proofreading software recently, and they seem to be pretty good. In this chapter, I will carefully test it out. Asterisk. Evolution begins with Resident Evil. Author, Wei Tongmiao. Chapter 60. Chapter 59. Senior Intelligence Agent of the European Division. Writing this, I hope readers will remember our domain name Taiwan Novel Network. Rightward arrow circled M. Early the next morning, Luo Guang ran to a large shopping mall and relied on his strong body to snap up a newly launched Nokia Brick 5110 mobile phone and 2 matching mobile phone batteries. This Nokia Brick 5110 mobile phone has a black outer casing and is a straight phone with an external antenna. The phone has a minimum standby time of 120 hours and uses a replaceable battery. The phone also has a built-in Snake game full of childhood memories. Then Luo Guang bought a SIM card from ATT company and put it in it. After returning to the hotel to charge his mobile phone, Luo Guang turned on the power of his mobile phone and dialed Barry's mobile phone number. "Hello, Uncle Barry. I'm Luo Guang." Because Jill didn't have a mobile phone number, Luo Guang could only contact Uncle Barry first. "Oh, it's Luo. Hello, have you settled down?" A child's voice could be heard faintly from Barry's side, saying, "Wait a minute, I'll change places." Without keeping Luo Guang waiting, Barry walked out of the room and said, "That's it? Is there something wrong? Where's Jill?" Luo Guang missed Jill, so he first asked about Jill. "She has already set off to Europe to find her former STARS teammate Chris," Uncle Barry replied. "Really?" Luo Guang was a little disappointed when he heard that Jill was no longer in the Americas. He originally planned to take the opportunity to meet Jill when he was given research information on the blood plague virus, and the two of them would have a good relationship. But Luo Guang recovered quickly and teased Barry, "So is this why you are lazy at home right now?" "No, I just went back to say goodbye to my family." Uncle Barry shook his head and said, "By the way, is there something serious?" "Barry, you are in Maple Leaf Country, right? Luo Guang also brought the topic on track and said, I have some virus research materials on hand that I want to give to you. From Umbrella, Barry thought for a moment and asked, it's useless for us to ask for research data, right? We don't have researchers. It's not Umbrella's. There are more than one company in the world that studies biological weapons. Luo Guang explained why he gave this information to Barry. It is also very important to understand the data and intelligence of those biological and chemical weapons. And when necessary, these research information can also be used as a bargaining chip in negotiations with the other party. I understand. Where are you now? I'll come to you to get those materials. Barry understood what Luo Guang meant. Chicago. Copy that. I'll be there tomorrow. Barry nodded. After the two of them finished chatting, Luo Guang hung up the phone and played with the film in his hand. Luo Guang was thinking about how to deal with the film. The photos inside are basically photos of the secret blood plague research institute in Danforth City. Because the cameras at that time could only take pictures, not audio or video, the conversation between Luo Guang and the blood plague king was not recorded. And if it's just a photo, then the blood plague king looks like an ordinary blood plague heart. After thinking about it again and again, Luo Guang decided to give the film to Barry and let him worry about it. The vacation days passed by in the blink of an eye. Apart from handing things over to Barry, Luo Guang was like an ordinary vacationer, eating, drinking and having fun everywhere. Finally, on the 10th day after returning to Chicago, Luke, the director of the Biological and Chemical Weapons Department of the Chicago Research Institute, approached Luo Guang. Luo, the blood plague virus you brought back is very good. Minister Luc Dupont looked very happy when he saw Luo Guang. What do you mean? Does it inspire the development of biological and chemical weapons? Luo Guang was a little curious about what the other party developed using the blood plague virus. The blood plague virus samples are of great help to our research on new biochemical weapons. So thank you very much. If it weren't for the fact that the desk is a bit big, Minister Luke would have wanted to hold Luo Guang's hand and thank him. Fan. After research, the blood plague virus can cause the infected body to produce a biological pheromone named blood plague pheromone. Minister Luke's eyes lit up and he told Luo Guang his thoughts. Through the test, it was found that those blood plague pheromone plague zombies and other creatures use this pheromone to distinguish between ourselves and the enemy. Without waiting for Luo Guang's response, Minister Luke couldn't wait to continue. Our department has begun to study how to produce this pheromone and how to use it to control blood epidemic organisms. If it proves feasible, we will let the T virus and this blood epidemic. The epidemic viruses are fused to produce biochemical weapons that can be controlled with pheromones. But the range of influence of pheromones shouldn't be very large, right? Luo Guang asked curiously. If this is the case, it means that the person responsible for control must be on the front line of the battle. It was because of these considerations that Luo Guang chose to hand over the original sample of the blood plague virus to Umbrella. But it is obvious that Luo Guang is not a professional researcher of biological and chemical weapons, and his considerations are not comprehensive. Haha, this problem is easy to solve. Minister Luke seemed to like this feeling of exchanging interests and hobbies, and explained to Luo Guang, we can put an electronic device into the body of the blood plague creature and remotely control the electronic device through electronic signals. The blood epidemic pheromones stored in the device are released according to our ideas, thereby achieving the purpose of controlling blood epidemic organisms. If every blood plague zombie installed this, the cost would be much higher, so Minister Luke only targeted blood plague creatures such as swift eyes. So that's it. Luo Guang showed a surprised expression at the right time and flattered him with an admiring tone. If the people in the European branch see your final product, Minister Luke, they will definitely feel inferior and feel ashamed. This chapter is not finished yet. Please click on the next page to continue reading the exciting content. Luo Guang changed the two idioms into simple English and spoke them. Haha, it's not that powerful, and it hasn't been done yet. Minister Luke was obviously very helpful. especially when he thought of the possibility of the European branch surrendering to him from Luo Guang's words. Ah, by the way, Luo Minister Luke remembered the reason why he called Luo Guang over and said, "The people from the European branch have contacted me. Coming." Luo Guang understood that this was the result of the operation of Organization X. "Do you have anything to do with the minister from the European branch?" Luo Guang's puzzled look was just right. Minister Luke nodded and said, "To be precise, I have something to do with you. The other party is the director of the Biological and Chemical Weapons Department of the 6th Research Institute of the European branch. He wants you, Luo Guang, a survivor of Raccoon City, to come over and help develop the latest type of tyrant." "Why do we, the people from the American branch, need to help with matters in the European branch?" Luo Guang asked dissatisfied. "I thought so too, but the big shots in the Americas division have all spoken, and the Chicago division minister did not protest or refuse." Although Minister Luke said this, there was no trace of anger on his face. "Minister Luke, you asked me to come. It seems you were convinced." According to the intelligence, Minister Luke has always regarded the research institutes under the European division as his main opponent. Normally, Minister Luke's facial expression cannot be like this. "Come," so Luo Guang asked. "Yes, Luo Guang, although you are going to assist the other party in developing a new tyrant, this is also an opportunity to learn." Minister Luke was persuaded by such words. "I understand. What fun stuff is there in the European branch?" Luo Guang confirmed. "Yes, but Nemesis Alpha, the parasite that controls the tyrant-type biochemical weapon we most want, will be sent to you on the day you arrive in Europe as a reward for your past assistance." When Luo Guang heard the name of the parasite Nemesis Alpha, he raised his eyebrows and said, "The other party is willing to give up such an important thing. That was originally the thing that was first discovered by the Arclay Research Institute. It's just that the European branch found the correct way to use it. The main reason is that the company's situation has changed. It's different from the past." Minister Luke sighed and said, "During Luo Guang's vacation, the company suffered a huge blow in drug sales, so shareholders will require us to share the unique technologies of our research institutes around the world." "Then you want me to go over and change the parasite Nemesis Alpha? Because the other party is not willing to share its technology like this. In fact, despite the shareholder meeting's request, the following research institutes have a tacit understanding and have not asked other research institutes to use each other's unique technology." Minister Luke said angrily, "After all, you can ask others to get it, and others can also ask you to get it. In the end, everyone will not bother to study it. It is better to wait for others to study it before getting it. And it is precisely because we are obediently and secretly violating the orders from above. Requirements, so the two major divisions, the American division and the European division, were taken over. This is different from showing off," Luo Guang thought, and said to Luke, "Oh, I actually want the researcher to share his hard work with others. But there seems to be nothing the higher-ups can do, because the hexagon made the biochemical leak we completed in Raccoon City public. As a result, many drug dealers are now clamoring for returns, saying that our company has a bad reputation, so no one wants to buy the drugs." Minister K actually had no choice but to accept the steps given to him by his superiors. "Because drug sales account for a large portion of our company's profits." Luo Guang read Umbrella's previous financial statements. "Yes," Minister Luke said helplessly. "So how should we do the specific task?" After he had finished complaining, Luo Guang planned to ask about the details of the task. "If there are specific arrangements, someone from the European branch will come and she will tell you personally." Minister Luke's words made Luo Guang a little confused. "Let the people from the European branch come to the office." Minister Luke pressed a switch in the office, approached the microphone and said. Not long after, Minister Luke's secretary led a person into the office. "Who are you?" Luo Guang felt that the face and figure of the beauty in front of him looked familiar. "Haha, it seems that you still remember me," guessed the other person's words explained why Luo Guang felt familiar. I didn't expect that we had met so many days ago. Luo Guang was surprised. The woman in front of him was the beautiful woman dressed as a maid who had knocked on Luo Guang's door before and was flirting outside the door. However, the woman in front of her now had her blonde wavy hair changed to short black hair, and her exposed midriff-bearing maid outfit was replaced by a white high-end shirt and a black hip-hugging skirt. I thought of it, the other party said. Dean, please go out first. Minister Luke asked his secretary to go out first. After the secretary left, Minister Luke asked, have you two met? Luo Guang directly told Minister Luke what happened that night, and solemnly stated that he stuck to his heart and did not fall into the other party's honey trap. That's right, so Minister Luke, you can rest assured to leave Luo Guang to me. The beauty remembered that she hadn't introduced herself yet, and said, by the way, my name is Wang Wei, and I'm a senior intelligence officer of the Paris Institute under the European branch. Hello, you know my name. Luo Guang seemed to be upset about being deceived. I thought Miss Wang, you just arrived in Chicago today. Minister Luke only received the information that the other party had arrived in Chicago today. This chapter is not finished yet, please click on the next page to continue reading the exciting content. It's a rare trip to the lighthouse country, so I'll take this opportunity to go shopping, visit the scenery of Chicago, eat, drink and have fun. Wang Wei lied with his eyes open, and Luo Guang and Minister Luke were suspicious. Luo Guang thought that he gave the research data to Uncle Barry after the other party appeared. When he was thinking about whether to kill the other party before he exploded, he heard the other party say in a pinched throat, Luo, don't look at me so fiercely. What have you been doing during this time? What Luo Guang said was also what Minister Luke wanted to know. Luo Guang was worried that his connection with Barry would be exposed to Umbrella, while Minister Luke was worried that the other party secretly stole the research data of the Chicago branch. Don't be so nervous. The other party sat on the armrest of Luo Guang's chair very familiarly and whispered in Luo Guang's ear, we are not enemies, huh? Wang Wei blew a breath in Luo Guang's ear and left Luo Guang. Luo Guang was confused in his heart, but he said firmly, don't try to seduce me with your beautiful skin. Whatever you think. Wang Wei heard that the hostility in Luo Guang's firm tone was not as strong as before. Let's talk about the mission. Luo Guang's tone was still heavy, and he looked sulky. Well, in short, we will take a flight to Gaul together at Chicago's O'Hare International Airport tomorrow morning. I have already bought the tickets, and then I will take you all the way to the 6th Institute. Under normal circumstances, the assistance research of the new tyrant should be completed that night. Wang Wei explained. The 6th Institute is the Paris Institute. Dinner included? And I'll listen to you. There should be other things to do later, right? Luo Guang saw that the matter of assisting the development of Tyrant could be solved in just one day, so he thought that there would be new things to do later. In other words, he only had half a day to be welcomed into the Paris Institute by the other party, which undoubtedly made Luo Guang's previous plan go bankrupt. Dinner included, candlelight dinner with me. There are indeed other things, but this is the business of our European branch, so it is inconvenient to say it now. Wang Wei raised his right hand and shook his index finger. I understand. Minister Luke understood what Wang Wei meant and said, but you have to remember that Luo Guang is an intelligence officer of our Chicago branch. Minister Luke didn't want the only senior intelligence officer of his branch to be fooled by the European branch. Understood. Those are not dangerous tasks. Later Wang Wei expressed an attitude on behalf of the European branch. The current situation of the company is not optimistic. Every talent is crucial, and we will protect Luo Guang. That's good, Luo Guang, I can only help you here. Minister Luke said this before for Luo Guang's safety. Thank you. Luo Guang understood what the other party meant and nodded. The three of them talked about some details, and then Luo Guang and Wang Wei left the Chicago branch together. Nokia 5110 was launched in November 1998, and the launch time was slightly advanced by half a month. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Evolution begins with Resident Evil. Author, Wei Tongmiao. Chapter 61. Chapter 60 The Apocalypse. Aren't you also staying in my hotel? After Luo Guang left the Chicago branch, he thought of Wang Wei who appeared in front of his door that day, so he asked in Chinese. You guessed it right, but unfortunately there is no reward. But it is just a coincidence that you and I stay in the same hotel. Among the hotels around the Chicago branch, that hotel is the only one with a high enough floor that you can observe the surrounding situation. Is that why you chose that hotel? Wang Wei also answered in Chinese, nodded, and then began to express her goodwill and took the initiative to tell Luo Guang what she was concerned about. Luo Guang, regarding your contact with former STARS Barry, I will keep it secret for you. The other party was talking about Barry from STARS, but did not mention Jill. Luo Guang noticed the difference and understood that he had been careless during his vacation these days. Although it took less than 2 minutes for him to give the research information to Barry, it was still seen by Wang Wei, who had been following him. Shopping, seeing the scenery of Chicago, eating, drinking and having fun that Wang Wei mentioned to Minister Luke are actually what Luo Guang has been doing during his vacation these days. Since Wang Wei only recently learned about Luo Guang's connection with STARS, it means that Wang Wei is at least not a member of organization. There is another level of identity, and that identity is probably not compatible with Umbrella Company. This inference made Luo Guang feel a little more at ease. If Wang Wei reported on Luo Guang, he would lose his identity as an undercover Umbrella Company. Then organization will abandon oneself, and this abandonment often represents death. So, what's the price for keeping the secret for me? Luo Guang and Wang Wei walked side by side and asked in a low voice. I haven't thought about it yet. Let's talk about it when we get back. Although the people around me may not understand Chinese, who knows Wang Wei gave up here, but Luo Guang thought that there were indeed others following and monitoring him outside. Maybe, so he nodded in agreement with Wang Wei's words. The two returned to the hotel. At the invitation of the other party, Luo Guang came to Wang Wei's room, and the other party's room was actually opposite Luo Guang's room. He also happened to live in the same hotel as me, and your room is across from mine. Luo Guang followed the other person into the room. The layout here is basically the same as Luo Guang's luxury suite. Luo Guang found a chair with a backrest, sat sideways and said, "You can talk now." Wait a minute. Wang Wei took out a small instrument from his handbag and scanned the room before sitting on the bed and facing Luo Guang. Actually there is no price for keeping your secret. Wang Wei chuckled and spread her hands. I don't believe that free lunches will fall from the sky. Luo Guang's black jacket contained his Beretta M92F pistol. At this time, most of his body was blocked by the back of the chair, and Luo Guang's hand was already on the gun. Because your association with the former STARS meets the needs of the camp I belong to. My camp does not want the excessive development of biological and chemical weapons. Wang Wei saw the fierce light flashing in Luo Guang's eyes, but did not make any move. No matter what reaction, his hands were not hidden, they were just placed openly in Luo Guang's sight. Overdevelopment. Luo Guang didn't understand what the other party meant and confirmed, neutral faction. You can say that. Wang Wei said, we don't want Umbrella to be the only company in the research of biological and chemical weapons, but our camp also feels that viruses like the T-virus can make us humans go further and are the key to our human evolution. Wang Wei grew up in the camp, so she also believes in the purpose of her camp's actions. Is it immortal? Luo Guang thought of Oswell Edward Spencer, one of the founders of Umbrella, a character who was obsessed with eugenics theory and believed that modern humans needed to further evolve. What magic are you talking about? Although some viruses do have the effect of delaying aging, if you are not careful, they can lead to excessive metabolism and uncontrollable mutations in the body, Wang Wei complained. So we don't want to act for some people's dream of immortality, we just want to make progress for human beings whose evolution has stalled. Wang Wei shook her head and said, human beings are now too dependent on technological development. Luo Guang believed the other party's words for the time being and said, then what is the name of your camp? I can't tell you the specific name yet. I need to confirm it with the higher UPS first, so you can call us the Apocalypse for the time being. Wang Wei, like Emma, gave their camp a code name. Okay, Luo Guang could only believe that the other party was not hostile. Although Luo Guang was confident of solving the other party in the room, committing crimes in the hotel was not a wise choice, especially since he was not yet a member of organization. I feel that the X organization will protect me. If I am wanted by then, I will be in trouble. Of course, this is because Luo Guang didn't know that Organization X wanted to absorb him, so he had such an idea. So you can put down the weapon in your hand. Wang Wei pointed at Luo Guang's abdomen, which was covered by the back of the chair, and said, do you think I can kill you? Luo Guang could only ask bluntly in order to test the opponent's fighting ability. I'm not that good at force, disguise is my weapon. It's just okay. I think you're being modest. Luo Guang pointed to the other person's crossed legs and the black high heels hanging from the small feet. There was a flash of cold light at the edge of the high heels. Throwing these high heels over will act as a distraction. Wang Wei shook his head. Luo Guang sat on a chair after entering the room and took an early advantage. He was exactly the same as the person in his impression. So if I can't interfere with your movements, Luo Guang, then I'm doomed. And because you hide the movements of your hands, my only countermeasure is to strike first. Since you said I hid my hand movements, how do you know what my hidden hand movements were? The TV screen, metal objects on the table mirrors and other objects can all allow me to notice your hidden movements. Wang Wei did not hide it at all, but explained to Luo Guang with a trace of doubt in her eyes. Sigh. It seems that my kung fu is still not good enough. Luo Guang said this, but he was originally a monk who took the position of senior intelligence officer. Luo Guang, so he only felt annoyed in his heart. Instead, he was glad that the other party did not do anything malicious. Teach this to yourself. As a result, Luo Guang relaxed his vigilance a little, turned his chair over, sat down again, and put his hands in the other person's field of vision. What does the European branch want from me? Luo Guang decided to start the conversation again. The first step is to assist in the development of the new nemesis. They need you to provide the details of the nemesis's defeat, Wang Wei said. In this way, the information I told Minister Luke was not shared with researchers in the European branch. Luo Guang thought about this and asked, how did the European branch know about this? Both sides are infiltrating each other, and there are people from the other side in the institute, Wang Wei said as she unbuttoned the top button of her shirt, pulled her clothes and fanned herself. Luo Guang was thinking about the problem at this time, not paying attention to the other party's harmless actions, and said, okay, what about the next thing? Go to an unknown island with the USS for secret training. What secret training? Luo Guang was surprised, feeling that there were suddenly more things going on. It seems to be anti-biochemical weapons training. Umbrella Company is currently short of manpower and has lost a large number of combatants in Raccoon City, so I want you to conduct combat training. Wang Wei paused and put forward his guess, there may be other tasks to be assigned to you later, but I don't know the specific circumstances. Luo Guang couldn't figure out the meaning behind this second task. Be careful yourself anyway, Wang Wei said with concern. Luo Guang glanced at the other party and always felt that the other party's attitude towards him was strange. It was not bad, but too good. So, back to what I asked you before, what is the price of keeping a secret? Luo Guang didn't believe what the other party said and asked again. Really, I've been showing good intentions, but you're still so suspicious. But this time Wang Wei pouted and said dissatisfied. Is it still like that? Wang Wei's words made Luo Guang suddenly confused. Did Wang Wei know Luo Guang from Umbrella Company before? But considering that he had no previous memories, Luo Guang did not mention the problem in the other party's words and said, "Okay, anyway, you said there was no price, and I won't suffer." "I regretted it," Wang Wei said, "since you always feel that there is a price, then I can satisfy you." Luo Guang felt that he had shot himself in the foot. Without any hesitation, he immediately begged for mercy, "Please let me go." Wang Wei saw Luo Guang folding his hands to admit his mistake, covering his mouth and smiling, very charming. While the other person was laughing, Luo Guang immediately changed the subject and said, "Speaking of which, what kind of organization is the Apocalypse? I don't know how to describe it specifically, but one thing is for sure, we and Umbrella are now in a hostile relationship." Now, Luo Guang asked. "If Umbrella Company cannot develop any powerful biochemical weapons, then Umbrella Company will no longer be our enemy." Wang Wei considered the words and continued, "Balance the ability of all parties to cause biochemical crises and ensure this the world will not be destroyed. This is probably the purpose of our organization. Before, you mentioned that you hope that things like the T-virus will bring humanity a step further, so you will curb the spread, but not completely destroy it." Luo Guang probably understands the purpose of the establishment of the Apocalypse, and feels that it suits him quite well. "Yes, but the problem is that there are too few anti-biochemical organizations in the world now." Wang Wei sighed. "Umbrella's manufacturing of biochemical weapons in Raccoon City is still blocked, and the world is more aware of the harm of biochemical crises. There is no clear understanding, so it would be good for our organization for former STARS members to develop into an anti-biochemical organization." "I understand." Luo Guang finally felt relieved, but at this moment Luo Guang couldn't help but complain in his heart, another undercover agent in Umbrella Company. After Luo Guang and Wang Wei finished talking, he returned to his room, went to the shower room, turned on the shower, and then turned the water volume to the maximum. Opening the door of the shower room, Luo Guang stood outside the door and called Emma Greenwell. "What do you mean by calling me while taking a shower?" Emma Greenwell heard the noise from Luo Guang and felt a little speechless, wondering how Luo Guang, the person favored by the organization, could occasionally go crazy. This chapter is not over yet, please click on the next page to continue reading. Anti-eavesdropping. Luo Guang also felt speechless, feeling that the other party seemed to have a little too much self-awareness. In fact, Emma's first thought was wrong because Jack Jones had been instilling in Emma that Luo Guang wanted to pick up Emma recently. So what's the matter?" Emma said. "The American branch and the European branch of Umbrella Corporation have made a deal. The European branch borrowed me to go to Europe for business, and then the American branch will get the parasite Nemesis Alpha as a reward." Luo Guang wanted to take this opportunity to push out the task of obtaining the parasite Nemesis Alpha from the Paris Research Institute. Is the intelligence accurate? Luo Guang's intelligence is very critical. Compared with stealing from the Paris Research Institute, it is easier and more successful to intercept halfway, so Emma immediately entered the working mode. Minister Luke said that, probably because the alpha parasite is not a virus, Minister Guslan doesn't know about it. Luo Guang touched his chin and said, "It is indeed possible. As the key to controlling the tyrant-type biological weapon, the alpha parasite is the one that the biological weapons department will pay more attention to," Emma said, and she had a plan in her mind. "Your plan remains unchanged. As for the alpha parasites in the transaction, I will contact the organization to collect intelligence." Emma walked to the bed, sat down, crossed her long legs, and continued, "If we succeed here, I will notify you directly by text message, and then you can do whatever you want." Okay. Luo Guang thought this was already a good result, so he didn't say anything more. That's it. After Emma finished speaking, she hung up the phone, looking like she didn't want to have any other contact with Luo Guang except work. After Luo Guang finished the call, he took his important items into the bathroom, took a shower, and tried to make his mind work better. But at this time, Luo Guang had too many things to pay attention to. The warm water fell on Luo Guang's head, accelerating the blood circulation in his brain. Although a new organization appeared, Luo Guang's goal did not change. The first goal was to defeat Umbrella Corporation, and the second goal was to infiltrate the X organization and formally whitewash his identity as an Umbrella Corporation intelligence agent in the form of an undercover agent. However, at this time, another apocalypse organization that he had no impression of appeared, disrupting his rhythm, so Luo Guang needed to regroup and sort out clues like now. However, Wang Wei's attitude towards Luo Guang and some of his words are worth studying. Luo Guang suspected that he and Wang Wei knew each other before, and even had some connection with the Apocalypse organization. Today is the last day of double monthly tickets, please ask for monthly tickets. Evolution begins with Resident Evil. Author, Wei Tongmiao. Chapter 62. Chapter 61 The Identity of Luo Guang. Luo Guang didn't like the feeling of uncertainty that he couldn't control, so after sorting out the clues, he put on his clothes again and went to find Wang Wei to ask for clarification. Before Luo Guang's hand touched the door handle, the doorbell rang first. Through the peephole, Luo Guang saw that the person who came was Wang Wei in a bathrobe. Is there something? Luo Guang opened the door, wondering why the other party came to him again. Go in and talk. Wang Wei, with a faint fragrance on his body, walked directly past Luo Guang and walked straight into Luo Guang's room. He took out the small scanner from the pocket of his bathrobe and checked whether there was any monitoring equipment such as a bug in Luo Guang's room. Luo Guang closed the door, locked it, and then returned to the room. Looking at the busy Wang Wei, he asked, "What's wrong?" Wang Wei's expression was very solemn, without the previous playfulness. Wang Wei scanned it once, confirmed that there was no listening device, put the scanner back in his pocket, sat on Luo Guang's bed, and said to Luo Guang, who was sitting on the chair, "I just contacted the Apocalypse organization." Yeah, Luo Guang nodded, waiting for the other party to say next. Do you know Greg Mueller? Wang Wei asked this question first, which seemed to be related to the following words. Greg Mueller, the Umbrella researcher in Raccoon City. Luo Guang was curious why the other party mentioned this person and confirmed. Speaking of which, at that time, he had the idea of looking for researcher Greg, but in the end the two of them still couldn't meet, and Greg had been shot by USS personnel. That's right, this Greg Mueller, he has a technology that can suppress or even modify human memory. According to our organization's investigation, he has conducted this experiment on at least 3 people. Wang Wei looked into Luo Guang's eyes and said seriously. You mean I am one of the people who was subjected to memory suppression surgery by Greg? Luo Guang said his guess. We, the Apocalypse, have found one of the people who had a memory suppression operation performed by Greg Mueller. She is also a survivor of Raccoon City. She once worked under Nest led by Dr. William of the Raccoon City Research Institute. Her name is Suzuki Yoko. Do you have any impression of this person? Wang Wei seemed to want to draw out Luo Guang's suppressed memory bit by bit. Her tone was very gentle and there was a wisp of fragrance on her body. With the blowing of the air conditioner, it drifted towards Luo Guang, making people want to relax their vigilance. Luo Guang began to recall the past unconsciously, but what flashed through his mind were those not-so-good memories before the time travel. Suddenly there was a sharp pain in his head. Luo Guang pressed his head with one hand, showing a trace of pain on his face. He soon woke up and said, "Are you hypnotizing me?" "This is to help you recover your memory." Wang Wei sighed, and his tone returned to normal. He said helplessly, "If I told you in advance, I couldn't hypnotize you as long as you wanted to, then there would be no point in helping you recover your memory. And you will feel a headache, which further proves that you have undergone memory suppression surgery and have such a reaction." If it weren't for the system explaining to him that the tingling came from the system, Luo Guang really believed the other party's statement and began to doubt his identity as a time traveler. I don't know Yoko Suzuki, but I know there is such a person in the institute. It is said that she once donated tissue cells for T-virus research. Luo Guang accepted Wang Wei's explanation and stopped worrying about the other party hypnotizing him. Of course, this is because Wang Wei has never done anything malicious to him, otherwise Luo Guang would not let him go so easily. According to the information given by Yoko Suzuki, Luo Guang, you have also undergone memory suppression and modification surgery, and it was not long ago that you were transferred from the Chicago branch to the Raccoon City branch. Wang Wei felt relieved when he saw that the other party did not insist on his hypnosis. He smiled and continued to tell Luo Guang the information from the organization. So Luo Guang of Umbrella was sent to the Raccoon City Research Institute by the Chicago branch a long time ago to conduct an undercover operation, but he had his memory modified not long after he went there. However, in the following time, Luo Guang, the undercover, was not activated by the Chicago branch until the Goddess of Vengeance was transported to Raccoon City by the European branch for combat testing. Minister Luke, who obtained this information, activated Luo Guang to perform the mission. Thinking of this, Luo Guang shook his head, thinking that there were such coincidences in the world, and the fact that he did not inherit the memory of Luo Guang just matched Wang Wei's statement. I know this may be hard to believe, but Luo Guang, you are actually a member of our Apocalypse organization. Wang Wei's words were full of expectations, as if he was praying that Luo Guang would believe his words and return to the Apocalypse organization. Because Luo Guang had made such a guess before, he did not show any surprise when he heard Wang Wei's words at this time. Luo Guang, you don't seem to be very surprised. Wang Wei was best at disguise, so he could grasp the details of other people's facial expressions very well. Well, because you treated me so well, it was as if you and I had known each other for a long time, so I had some guesses, and what you said about me being a member of your organization was one of them. Luo Guang then continued, so, what is the relationship between me and you, Wang Wei? I think even if we are from the same organization, we won't be so nice to me. Because we are all orphans adopted by the Apocalypse organization, we grew up together in the organization's training center. Wang Wei's words were gentle, and there was a mist in his eyes, as if he was recalling the past. This chapter is not over yet, please click on the next page to continue reading. Luo Guang didn't know whether Wang Wei was acting, so he was not too touched, but felt a little overwhelmed. The other party's behavior made Luo Guang vaguely feel that the relationship between Luo Guang and Wang Wei of the Umbrella Company was not simple. So what is the real name of the organization? Luo Guang wanted to know the real name of the Apocalypse organization. We also call our organization the Apocalypse, and there is actually another organization above us that is responsible for leading us to carry out our missions. We, the Apocalypse, don't know the real name of the upper organization, but that organization asked us to call it Organization X. Wang Wei shook his head and continued, and you and I are both Apocalypse, and we have also sworn to suppress biochemical disasters and inspire human evolution. In fact, the history of our apocalypse is longer than that of Umbrella. When Umbrella emerged, we began to pay attention to this biomedical company, and we found out that this company had obtained the sacred object of the African Dubaya Empire a long time ago, the Sun Staircase flower, which is the source of the progenitor virus mentioned by Umbrella. Luo Guang is relatively clear about the history of Umbrella. After all, in the Resident Evil game, each series will mention the Umbrella Company. This company can be said to be an indispensable part of the history of Resident Evil. Mainly because Wang Wei mentioned that the upper organization of the Apocalypse is also called Organization X, which surprised Luo Guang. He just doesn't know if this Organization X is the same organization as Emma's Organization X. Luo Guang frowned and thought. I have no memory of living in the Apocalypse organization, nor do I have any memory of growing up and training with you. Luo Guang told the truth, carefully choosing his words, and said, I don't know whether I should believe you now. I understand. According to Suzuki Yoko, she seemed to have recovered her memory after being stimulated by something, such as some familiar scenes, and so on. Wang Wei understood Luo Guang's caution, and he also knew that he could not convince the other party with words alone. Now the Apocalypse organization is collecting your traces in the organization over the years. Although you are going to be an undercover in Umbrella Company, the organization has cleared your traces once, but there is still some information proving your identity. However, because the headquarters is in Europe, you can only see the evidence there. Wang Wei said that she would provide evidence to convince Luo Guang. I understand. When I go to Europe, everything will be clear. Originally, he didn't care much about Luo Guang of Umbrella Company, or the past of Luo Guang the Apocalypse, but at this time, the identity information of Luo Guang the Apocalypse and the people related to him had been confronted with him, so Luo Guang had to face it. Yeah, Wang Wei responded in a low voice, and after a little hesitation, a resolute look appeared on his face. He said, I said before that through stimulation or some familiar things in the past, people with suppressed memories can break through the shackles of suppression and restore their memories. After Wang Wei finished speaking, he stood up, held the belt of the bathrobe at his waist and pulled it. The originally loose bathrobe instantly slid to both sides, revealing the beautiful body inside. Wait, Wei, what are you doing? Luo Guang was stunned by this sudden attack. He really didn't expect that Wang Wei was not wearing anything in the bathrobe. Wei, you used to call my name like this, and then hugged me tightly. Wang Wei's words were not long, but Luo Guang felt that there was a lot of information in it. As soon as Wang Wei finished speaking, the bathrobe slid to the ground as the other party walked forward. At noon the next day, Luo Guang and Wang Wei took a plane to beautiful Paris, and through the channels of the Apocalypse organization, Luo Guang's weapons and equipment were also successfully transported to Paris. The two did not go to the Paris Institute immediately, but went to a safe house of the Apocalypse organization. The decoration inside the house was plain and looked like an ordinary house. Wang Wei found the secret compartment hidden in the floor according to the information sent by the Apocalypse organization. After prying it open, he pulled out a document from it. Take a look. Wang Wei handed the document to Luo Guang with infinite tenderness in her eyes. She had made up her mind yesterday that she would restore Luo Guang's memory no matter what. If Luo Guang did not remember her, she had enough confidence to renew her relationship with Luo Guang. Luo Guang took the document and opened it to check. There was not much content inside, just an A4 paper and a photo. Luo Guang, the Apocalypse, was born in 1975. His exact birthday was unknown. Luo Guang calculated that he was a little younger than Jill. In 1982, Luo Guang, the Apocalypse who lived in the Hawthorne Flower Orphanage, and Wang Wei were adopted by the Apocalypse organization, and began long-term knowledge learning and combat training in the same year. In 1994, Luo Guang, the Apocalypse, graduated from the Apocalypse Training Institute. Because his performance in disguise and intelligence analysis was the best among his classmates, he was sent to the emerging company Umbrella to work undercover. He then provided the Apocalypse organization with the progress and results of Umbrella's T-virus research. In 1997, Luo Guang, the Apocalypse, was sent to Umbrella's Research Institute in Raccoon City to monitor William Birkin, and then lost contact. During the period when Raccoon City lost contact, the organization sent local members to send a contact signal to Luo Guang who appeared in Raccoon City, but the other party did not respond, so it was decided to temporarily silence Luo Guang and conduct further investigation to confirm what happened. The above is most of the content of the file, and the photo in the file is an ID photo. The person in the photo looks exactly like Luo Guang. In addition to Luo Guang, there is another person next to him, who is Wang Wei. This chapter is not over, please click on the next page to continue reading. Is this my previous information? Luo Guang showed a puzzled look, frowning, as if trying to recall the previous things. That's right, Wang Wei. I sat next to Luo Guang and also looked at the contents of the file and said. In my memory, I grew up and was trained in an orphanage funded by Umbrella since I was a child, and my age is only 22 years old this year, not 23 years old. Luo Guang cooperated with the information of the apocalypse Luo Guang and wrote his own past. I lost a year of memory, and the things that happened in my childhood are exactly the same as what you experienced when you were in apocalypse. Wang Wei. I listened carefully to Luo Guang's words, and soon found the differences, which seemed to be consistent with the situation where Luo Guang's memory was modified. Well, Luo Guang looked very depressed at this time, and said in a low tone, but that is in the past. The apocalypse Luo Guang you knew is no longer here, and I also have a girlfriend, and I am planning to get married. Luo Guang knew that Wang Wei had a special liking for the apocalypse Luo Guang, so he didn't want to delay him. Wang Wei looked at Luo Guang, staring at him without flinching, touched his left arm with his right hand, and then said slowly, I understand, but you have a girlfriend doesn't mean I can't pursue my happiness. You are quibbling. Luo Guang closed the file, walked to the brazier on the side, and said, these materials can't be kept, right? Wait a minute. Wang Wei rushed over, took the file from Luo Guang's hand, took out the photos inside and put them in the inner pocket of his clothes, and then threw the file back into the brazier. Luo Guang watched the other person's actions but did not stop him, because at this moment, Luo Guang did not know how to deal with this sudden relationship. Taking out a lighter, Luo Guang bent down and lit the document. What if I can't recover my memory in this life? What if I never separate from my current girlfriend? Are you going to wait for me forever? Luo Guang did not use any particularly strong tone when he said this, and asked very casually, as if to confirm the other person's determination. Hearing Luo Guang's words, Wang Wei's eyes were very determined, and he looked into Luo Guang's eyes, and then answered seriously, but I have fallen in love with you, Luo Guang, a long time ago. Meow. After thinking about it, it is better to finish this plot at once, so there will be 2 updates today. But there may be an update tomorrow night.